Welcome to Sophia Science, the YouTube channel that answers all your questions about the world of science, including science mysteries, aliens. The content of today's video is
27,000-year-old twin burial unearthed, the oldest evidence of love and ritual in prehistory. The main content in this video includes discovery of a 27,000-year-old twin burial in Austria, infants buried under mammoth bones with a bead necklace, likely the oldest twin grave ever found, evidence of ritual, care, and early human compassion. Now, let's get started. The 27,000-year-old twin burial. On a wind-swept hill in northern Austria, not far from the mighty Danube River, the silent earth had been keeping a secret for tens of thousands of years. Every strike of the shovel, every layer of soil removed, was like turning a page in humanity's forgotten story. And then, something no one expected emerged from the ground: the fragile remains of two tiny newborns. They had been resting in the earth for 27,000 years, back in the Ice Age, when mammoths still roamed across Europe. Number 2, a discovery that shook archaeology. This was no ordinary grave. Unlike the simple burials often seen in prehistoric times, this one carried unmistakable signs of ritual. The babies were placed beneath the massive bones of a woolly mammoth, a creature both feared and revered, a source of food, shelter, and spiritual power for their tribe. Beside the infants lay a necklace of 31 beads, carefully arranged, as if to protect or honor them. To archaeologists, this was astonishing. These beads weren't just decoration. They were part of a funerary rite, proof that humans of the Ice Age already had concepts of death, the afterlife, and sacred ceremony. Number 3, the mystery of the twins. Even more remarkable, the two skeletons had nearly identical limb sizes. This led scientists to believe they may have been twins. Picture it. 27,000 years ago, inside a shelter made of mammoth bones and animal skins, a mother struggled to bring two fragile lives into the world. But instead of the cries of newborns filling the night with hope, tragedy fell upon the camp. Number 4, the social meaning, more than survival. In prehistoric times, the death of infants was sadly common. But what makes this burial extraordinary is what it reveals about the people who lived then. They did not abandon these children. They prepared a grave, chose a sacred site, and buried them with care and symbolic offerings. This shows us that these early humans were not driven only by survival, hunting, fighting, and enduring the cold. They also felt love, grief, and respect for life, even the lives of those who never had the chance to grow. These two newborns, although gone too soon, were treated as valued members of the community. Number 5, where was the mother? One haunting question remains: where was the mother? In that era, giving birth to twins was almost impossibly rare and extremely dangerous. Archaeologists suspect the mother may have died during childbirth. That is why excavations continue as scientists search for her remains nearby. If found, it could reveal an even deeper tragedy: a mother and her twins, all lost in one moment. Number 6, imagine the scene 27,000 years ago. Try to imagine it. Inside a dim, firelit shelter, the tribe gathered anxiously as a woman screamed in agony. then silence. The babies wrapped in animal skins never opened their eyes to the world. The tribe mourned, but they did not walk away. They dug a grave, placed the infants side by side, and laid mammoth bones above them as if to shield them for eternity. They added the necklace, perhaps the most precious object they had, as a final offering to the spirit world. That moment, frozen in time, is the earliest evidence we have of love reaching beyond death. Number 7, scientific and human significance. This is not just an archaeological find. It is a human story. It tells us that even tens of thousands of years ago, people had rituals for death and remembrance, a sense of community and belonging, and most importantly, the capacity to love and grieve. Fire, tools, and language helped humanity survive, but ceremonies like this, the act of mourning, of remembering, are what truly define us as human. A whisper from the past. When archaeologists touched those fragile bones, they weren't just uncovering the past. They were hearing a message whispered across 27 millennia. That even in the harshest age of survival, the flame of human compassion never went out. The 27,000-year-old twins, too small to leave footprints on the earth, have instead left an eternal mark on the history of humanity. And their silent message still echoes today. We are not here only to survive. We are here to love.
Scientists put a human chromosome into a mouse for the first time, a breakthrough that could change medicine forever. The main content in this video includes: scientists put a human chromosome into a mouse for the first time. Breakthrough could unlock secrets of Down syndrome. Genetically engineered mice show traits linked to the condition. A bold step toward future treatments for genetic disorders. Now, let's get started. Hello, everyone. Pause for a moment and imagine this. What if a tiny mouse, the same kind of creature we usually see scurrying in the kitchen, suddenly carried a piece of human DNA inside its body? It sounds like the plot of a science fiction movie, doesn't it? But this isn't fiction. It's real. It happened inside a laboratory in London. And in that moment, a brand new door opened for humanity. Not just a scientific milestone, but a breakthrough that could change the future of millions of people born with Down syndrome. The secret of chromosome 21. In the blueprint of human life, there are 23 pairs of chromosomes, and hidden among them is a small one, chromosome number 21, the smallest pair with only about 225 genes. But don't let its size fool you. That tiny chromosome carries tremendous power. Because when an extra copy of chromosome 21 appears, a child is born with Down syndrome. Every year, about 1 in every 800 babies enters the world carrying this genetic condition. They grow up with distinctive facial features, weaker muscles, smaller hands, almond-shaped eyes. But beyond appearances lies the real struggle, delays in physical growth and intellectual development. And that's not all. People with Down syndrome also face higher risks of heart defects, hearing loss, leukemia, and even Alzheimer's as they age. All of this caused by one extra chromosome. So, what can we do about it? At the National Institute for Medical Research in London and the Institute of Neurology, scientists spent 13 years searching for answers. 13 years of trial and error, determination, and hope. And finally, they achieved something once thought impossible. They successfully transferred a human chromosome into a mouse. Here's how they did it.
Scientists took a human chromosome 21 and merged it with a developing mouse stem cell, using a special chemical that allowed the two to blend together. Then, these modified stem cells, now carrying human DNA, were injected into a mouse embryo and implanted into a mother mouse. The result? A newborn mouse carrying a piece of human genetic code. At first glance, it looked like any other mouse, but as it grew, researchers noticed something extraordinary. The mouse began to develop traits that mirrored Down syndrome in humans. For the first time ever, humanity had created a living model of Down syndrome, a powerful tool to unlock the mysteries of this condition. Dr. Viktor Tybulevich, who led the research, shared his optimism. We are confident that this breakthrough will help us understand the challenges faced by people with Down syndrome, and eventually how to address them. Dr. Elizabeth Fisher from the Institute of Neurology added, "This technology will allow us to pinpoint exactly which genes cause Down symptoms, and which genes increase the risks of other diseases. It may not be a cure today, but it's a map, a compass, guiding scientists closer to a future where Down syndrome is no longer a lifelong burden." The Downs Association in the UK welcomed the research as well. They reminded the world every step that helps explain why people with Downs are more vulnerable to health problems is incredibly important, because each discovery brings us closer to changing lives. And here's the most astonishing part. It all began with one tiny mouse. A fragile creature, carrying within it the hope of millions. Sometimes, science doesn't come from giant machines or futuristic experiments in space. It comes from the quiet patience of researchers, from years of unseen effort, and from tiny breakthroughs inside a laboratory few of us will ever see. But from that small mouse, a revolution in medicine could one day be born. Science often begins with questions that sound naive, even absurd. What if? And the question, what if we placed a human chromosome inside a mouse? And the answer has led us to a breakthrough that could change everything. We may not have the cure for Down syndrome today, but every step forward, every mouse carrying human DNA, is a spark of hope. A hope that one day, children born with this condition will no longer have to endure the same struggles. And perhaps the greatest lesson this story leaves us with is this: our destiny is not always written in our genes. With knowledge, persistence, and compassion, humanity has the power to rewrite the future.
Welcome to Sophia Science, the YouTube channel that answers all your questions about the world of science, including science mysteries, aliens.
50 million environmental refugees, a crisis humanity cannot ignore. Imagine this. In just the next 5 years, more than 50 million people may be forced to abandon their homes, not because of war, not because of politics, but because the land beneath their feet, the very soil that sustains life, will no longer be able to support them. This is the haunting prediction from United Nations environmental experts, and with it comes a new and alarming term: environmental refugees. A new kind of refugee. For decades, the world has recognized political refugees and economic refugees, but now a new class is emerging. Environmental refugees are people driven from their homes by land degradation, collapsing ecosystems, pollution, and the relentless effects of climate change. Entire communities may be uprooted as once fertile farmlands turn into deserts. Families who have lived for generations by rivers may flee when floods or droughts destroy their homes. Villages may vanish as rising seas swallow coastlines. According to UN researcher János Bogardi, The roots of this crisis lie in the misuse of natural resources, unchecked population growth, and increasingly hostile weather patterns. The Earth itself, exhausted and scarred, is forcing people to move. History already warned us. This is not just speculation. A 1999 report from the International Red Cross already revealed that 25 million people had been displaced by droughts, floods, and soil exhaustion. That was over 2 decades ago, and today the numbers are climbing higher than ever. The devastating Hurricane Katrina in the United States proved a painful point. You don't need to cross a border to become a refugee. When thousands of people were forced out of their neighborhoods, they became climate refugees inside their own country. Human rights for the displaced. The United Nations argues that environmental refugees should be given the same recognition and protection as political or war refugees. After all, these people are not leaving by choice. They are being pushed out by forces beyond their control. But here lies a serious problem. International law does not yet recognize environmental refugees. Treaties, conventions, and aid frameworks are built around conflict and politics, not climate and ecology. That means millions of displaced people may soon be left in legal limbo, struggling without the rights or support they desperately need. The urgent call to action. To face this growing crisis, the world must do 2 things. First, create new international agreements that clearly define and protect environmental refugees. Second, act decisively to slow down the destruction of our planet by conserving resources, fighting climate change, and building sustainable societies. If we fail to act, 50 million displaced people will only be the beginning. The tide of human migration driven by environmental collapse may become one of the greatest challenges of the 21st century. The future of humanity. The truth is, this crisis doesn't just belong to the distant future or to some faraway country. It could happen anywhere. When the soil turns barren, when the rivers dry up, when the seas rise, no border, no wall, and no government can stop it. The question we must ask is not if environmental refugees will reshape our world, but when. Because as the Earth changes, humanity must change with it. And the time to prepare is now.
A hidden cure in the forest. Scientists discover a powerful new antibiotic. Deep in the quiet forests of northern Europe, where the air smells of pine and the ground is damp with moss, something extraordinary has been uncovered. Not a lost treasure, not a mythical creature, but something far more valuable to humanity. A brand new antibiotic. At a time when the world is facing a terrifying crisis of antibiotic resistance, this discovery may be nothing short of a miracle. The silent crisis of superbugs. Every year, millions of people around the globe suffer from infections caused by bacteria. For decades, antibiotics like penicillin and vancomycin have been our greatest weapons in this battle. But overuse and misuse of these drugs have allowed bacteria to evolve, becoming stronger, smarter, and deadlier. These superbugs can resist even our most powerful medicines, leaving doctors with fewer and fewer options. Experts warn that if we do not find new antibiotics soon, we could face a future where even a simple infection might become untreatable. That's why this new discovery has electrified the scientific community. Meet Plectacin, nature's hidden defender. Researchers from the United States and the Netherlands have identified a compound inside a forest-dwelling fungus that may be one of the strongest antibiotic candidates in decades. They named it Plectacin.
What makes plectassin so remarkable is its potency. In laboratory tests, it proved to be just as powerful as penicillin and vancomycin, two of the most trusted antibiotics in modern medicine. Even more promising, animal trials showed that plectassin was both effective and relatively non-toxic. Mice infected with pneumonia and intestinal diseases caused by the dangerous Streptococcus bacteria recovered after being treated with plectassin. Streptococcus, or strep, is not a harmless bug. It's responsible for devastating illnesses like meningitis, pneumonia, blood poisoning, and flesh-eating skin infections. And yet, this tiny molecule from a humble forest fungus was able to fight it. A new class of medicine. Unlike most antibiotics, which were discovered in soil-dwelling microbes decades ago, plectassin belongs to a special family of molecules known as defensins. These are small protein-based compounds that exist naturally in many living organisms, including humans. Our own white blood cells and skin cells produce defensins as a way to fight invading bacteria. But scientists believe plectassin is even more specialized, more targeted, and in some cases, more powerful. It doesn't just slow down bacteria, it attacks them directly and effectively. The road ahead. Of course, there is still a long journey before plectassin can be used in hospitals around the world. Human trials are needed to confirm its safety and effectiveness. But if all goes well, it could be the first truly new antibiotic to hit the market in over a decade. For doctors and patients alike, that means hope. Hope that we may not lose the war against resistant bacteria. Hope that the nightmare of untreatable infections may be pushed back. And lessons from the forest. This discovery also carries a deeper message. It reminds us that nature is still full of secrets waiting to be uncovered. In every forest, every patch of soil, every species of plant or fungus, there may be cures for the diseases we fear most. Humanity has only just begun to scratch the surface. The antibiotic crisis is one of the greatest threats to modern medicine. But thanks to this quiet fungus, hidden in the shadows of a pine forest, we may have found a new ally in the fight for survival. The story of plectassin is not just about science. It is about hope, resilience, and the endless wisdom of the natural world. So the next time you walk through a forest, remember, the ground beneath your feet might be holding the cure to humanity's next great challenge.
A star born in the shadow of a black hole. For centuries, black holes have carried a terrifying reputation. Cosmic monsters with gravity so intense that nothing, not even light itself, can escape their grasp. They are the destroyers of worlds, the silent predators lurking in the heart of galaxies. But what if I told you that near one of these cosmic beasts, scientists have found something extraordinary? A star that should not exist. Recently, astronomers made a discovery that has shaken our understanding of the universe. Using NASA's Chandra X-ray Observatory, two scientists, Sergei Nyakshin of the University of Leicester and Rashid Suniev of the Max Planck Institute for Physics, observed a cluster of massive stars orbiting dangerously close to a supermassive black hole at the center of our galaxy. One of these stars is a true giant, 30 to 50 times more massive than our own sun, and shining with a brilliance over 100,000 times greater. And here's the part that left astronomers stunned. These stars are located just 1 light-year away from the black hole itself. Now think about that for a moment. For decades, scientists believed the immense gravity of a black hole would swallow up any gas, dust, or matter in its vicinity. The idea of a star surviving, let alone forming so close to such a destructive force, seemed impossible. Yet, here they are, massive, blazing stars orbiting like loyal companions around the ultimate cosmic predator. NASA explains that this discovery suggests something remarkable. Under the right conditions, huge disks of gas orbiting a black hole at a safe distance might not be destroyed, but instead could collapse and ignite, giving birth to new stars. In other words, the very force we associate with destruction might also play a role in creation. Dr. Nyakshin himself described this as an extraordinary exception. Black holes are infamous for tearing matter apart, but in this rare occasion, the environment around them appears to nurture new life in the form of stars. These stars now orbit the black hole in much the same way planets orbit the sun, locked in a delicate cosmic dance on the edge of oblivion. This discovery forces us to rethink the way we view black holes. They are not only destroyers, but also, in the most unlikely circumstances, potential creators. They might even play a hidden role in shaping galaxies, seeding them with stars that owe their very existence to the monstrous giants at the center. So the next time you look up at the night sky and wonder about the mysteries of the cosmos, remember this: in the shadows of destruction, the universe sometimes hides the spark of creation. Even in the grip of a black hole, life, in the form of stars, can find a way.
Are plastics silently threatening male fertility? The hidden danger of PCBs. When we think about plastic, most of us picture bottles, food containers, toys, or maybe even the colorful dyes that make everyday products so appealing. But behind the convenience of plastic lies a chemical shadow, one that could reach into the most intimate part of human biology, the very DNA of sperm cells. Now, what are PCBs? PCBs, short for polychlorinated biphenyls, are a family of over 200 toxic byproducts created during industrial processes. For decades, these compounds were widely used in plastics, paints, rubber, dyes, and especially as insulators in electrical equipment. Here's the problem. PCBs don't just disappear. They enter the environment and make their way into our bodies, primarily through the food we eat. In fact, before the United States banned PCBs in 1977, nearly 700,000 tons had already been produced and released. And although production has stopped, their toxic legacy lingers. Scientists have long known that PCBs can disrupt genes in fish and other animals. But what about humans? Could these invisible chemicals threaten our fertility? To answer this question, Dr. Marcello Spano and his team at Italy's National Agency for Environment, Energy and Technology set out to investigate. They focused on a key biological target, sperm DNA, the blueprint of life carried by men. The study included about 700 men from 4 different regions: Sweden, Poland, Ukraine, and Greenland. Researchers measured the level of PCB markers, specifically hexachlorobiphenyl, in their blood. At the same time, they gathered detailed information about each participant's lifestyle, occupation, and reproductive history. Now, what did they discover? The results were striking. On average, sperm DNA damage in these men was around 10%. At that level, most participants were still able to reproduce normally. But trouble began when the DNA damage reached 20% or higher. According to Dr. Spano, exposure to PCBs clearly had a negative impact on sperm quality, especially in men who already had a higher baseline of genetic defects in their sperm. In other words, PCBs may not affect everyone equally, but for vulnerable individuals, the risks are real. Now, an unexpected twist, perhaps the most surprising finding, came from the Inuit men of Greenland. Despite having PCB levels similar to Europeans, their sperm showed no significant increase in DNA damage. Why? Dr. Spano suggests it may be due to differences in genetics and lifestyle. Certain genetic traits or protective factors in their traditional way of life could shield them from the harmful effects of PCBs. This mystery highlights just how complex the interaction between environment, lifestyle, and biology can be. Now, what does this mean for us? The study sends a clear warning. While PCBs may not always cause immediate or severe fertility problems, they do increase the risk of DNA damage in sperm. And this damage doesn't just affect the ability to conceive, it could also have long-term implications for the health of future generations. Even more concerning, Spono's team isn't stopping here. Their next focus is on how PCBs might affect unborn children during pregnancy. If these chemicals can harm the earliest stages of human development, the consequences could be far greater than we imagine. A hidden legacy of plastics. PCBs are a reminder of how the materials we create can leave behind toxic legacies. Though banned decades ago, they still circulate in our environment, entering the food chain and silently influencing human health. We often think of plastic as harmless, even disposable, but the truth is, some of its chemical building blocks can have invisible effects on our bodies, effects that may not fully reveal themselves until generations later. A closing thought. So, the next time you see a plastic product, remember, the story of plastic is not just about convenience and color. It's also about what lingers beneath the surface. PCBs may not stop humanity from reproducing altogether, but they are a hidden reminder that the choices we make in industry and daily life can reach into the deepest part of who we are, the very code of life carried in our sperm and passed on to future generations. The danger of plastics is not always what we can see. Sometimes it's written in our DNA.
Bringing back the lost Tasmanian tiger, science's boldest resurrection project. Imagine walking deep into the wild forests of Tasmania, Australia, and catching a glimpse of a strange animal. It looks like a dog, but with stripes along its back and the powerful jaws of a predator. This was the Tasmanian tiger, or thylacine, one of the most mysterious creatures to ever roam our planet. But here's the tragedy. The Tasmanian tiger was declared extinct almost a century ago. The last known thylacine died in captivity at the Hobart Zoo in 1936, leaving behind only faded photographs and grainy film reels as proof of its existence. For decades, many believed the species was gone forever, until now. Today, a group of Australian scientists is daring to attempt something that sounds like it was pulled straight from the pages of science fiction, bringing the Tasmanian tiger back to life. The science behind the resurrection. Leading this ambitious project is Professor Mike Archer of the University of New South Wales. Using advanced biotechnology, Archer and his team are working with genetic material taken from preserved thylacine specimens, including bones, teeth, and even embryos that were stored in museum collections. This is not the first time Archer has tried. Years ago, when he was the director of the Australian Museum in Sydney, he began experimenting with DNA extracted from a thylacine fetus preserved in alcohol. But the project was abandoned in 2003, when scientists concluded that the DNA was too degraded to be useful. Now, with new breakthroughs in DNA recovery and cloning technology, Archer believes that what was once impossible may finally be within reach. A creature hunted to extinction. The story of the Tasmanian tiger is as tragic as it is fascinating. Native to Australia and later confined mostly to Tasmania, thylacines were shy, nocturnal hunters. They posed little threat to humans. Yet, when European settlers arrived, fear and misunderstanding led to a brutal extermination campaign. Farmers, believing thylacines were killing livestock, shot them on sight. The government even offered bounties for every animal killed. By the early 20th century, their numbers had collapsed. And in 1936, the last known thylacine died behind the bars of a cage, a haunting symbol of how quickly humans can erase an entire species.
Could they still be out there? For decades, rumors have persisted. Locals swear they've seen strange, striped creatures lurking in Tasmania's remote forests. In fact, earlier this year, a magazine even offered a $1.25 million reward to anyone who could provide proof that the thylacine is still alive. Yet no conclusive evidence has ever surfaced. To many, the thylacine remains a ghost, part legend, part memory. That's why Archer's project is so extraordinary. If successful, it wouldn't just mean the return of a lost species. It would represent a turning point in the history of science. It would prove that extinction doesn't always have to be forever. Of course, not everyone agrees. Some critics argue the project is a waste of resources. Others believe it could upset Tasmania's fragile ecosystems. And ironically, some of the strongest criticism comes from the people of Tasmania themselves. But Archer remains confident that if given the chance, many of those skeptics would join the mission to help. The future of de-extinction. The resurrection of the Tasmanian tiger is more than just one project. It is part of a growing scientific field known as de-extinction, the attempt to revive animals that humans have driven to the brink. From the woolly mammoth to the passenger pigeon, many scientists believe we may soon see the return of species long thought lost. But the thylacine is more than just a candidate for de-extinction. It's a powerful symbol of regret, of hope, and of the responsibility we hold as caretakers of this planet. Imagine one day in the near future walking through Tasmania's wilderness and hearing the rustle of leaves, and then seeing those stripes once again. For the first time in nearly a century, the Tasmanian tiger may step back into the world it was forced to leave. This is not science. This is history in the making.
Did dinosaurs really have feathers? A new study challenges the classic theory. For decades, we've been told the same story, that modern birds are the direct descendants of meat-eating, two-legged dinosaurs. Museums, documentaries, and even Hollywood movies have painted the picture of dinosaurs covered in feathers, ancient reptiles slowly evolving into the sparrows, eagles, and penguins we know today. But a bold new study has just thrown a wrench into that narrative. According to this research, those gigantic reptiles of prehistory may never have had feathers at all? The feathered dinosaur revolution. The controversy began back in 1996. A curator from the National Geological Museum in Beijing unveiled a stunning fossil, a small dinosaur named Sinosauropteryx, dating back about 127 million years to the early Cretaceous period. This fossil appeared to have strange filaments running along parts of its skeleton. Chinese researchers quickly suggested these fibers were the earliest precursors to feathers, the evolutionary missing link between dinosaurs and birds. The story caught fire. The next day, the New York Times published a headline about the discovery, and soon after, news outlets worldwide embraced the idea. Dinosaurs, it seemed, weren't just scaly monsters. They were fluffy, feathery ancestors of birds. But not everyone was convinced. A counterattack from anatomy. Enter Professor Alan Fiducia, an evolutionary biologist and ornithologist at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. Along with his team, Fiducia revisited the Chinese fossil evidence with a critical eye. They compared the supposed proto-feathers of Sinosauropteryx with the collagen fibers found in modern reptiles like snakes and lizards. Their conclusion was striking. Those filaments weren't feathers at all. Instead, they were the remains of decayed collagen tissue, skin that had torn apart and fossilized over time. In other words, what many paleontologists celebrated as the first dinosaur feathers might have been nothing more than mummified skin. The timeline problem.
But the feather debate isn't the only issue. Fiducia points to another major inconsistency: the timeline of evolution. The first true bird, Archaeopteryx, appeared around 150 million years ago during the late Jurassic period. It had wings, feathers, and even a bird-like brain, almost indistinguishable from modern birds. Yet the so-called feathered dinosaurs from China lived about 25 million years later. If birds already had feathers and the ability to fly, how could dinosaurs that appeared afterward be their feathered ancestors? To Fiducia, it makes no sense. Instead, he suggests that many of these so-called feathered dinosaurs, like the famous velociraptor, were actually flightless birds, misclassified as dinosaurs simply because of their appearance. The finger mystery. Supporters of the birds from dinosaurs theory often highlight a key similarity. Both groups share a three-fingered hand, which they compared to the human thumb, index, and middle fingers. But Fiducia's team uncovered a crucial difference. Birds don't have the same three fingers as dinosaurs. Instead, their wings contain the equivalents of the index, middle, and ring fingers, a completely different arrangement. This anatomical mismatch, according to Fiducia, undermines the theory that birds directly evolved from dinosaurs. So, if birds didn't descend from dinosaurs, where did they come from? Fiducia offers an alternative view. Dinosaurs and birds likely shared a common reptilian ancestor far back in time, but then evolved separately along different paths. That would explain their similarities, such as body structure and certain skeletal features, while also accounting for the differences in feathers, wings, and anatomy. In this light, dinosaurs were never bird-like creatures slowly sprouting feathers. Instead, they were reptiles in their own right, while birds took a parallel road, developing flight and feathers independently. Why this matters? This debate isn't just about feathers. It's about rewriting the family tree of life itself. If Fiducia is correct, then one of the most popular evolutionary stories of the last 30 years may be built on a mistake. It challenges the way we imagine dinosaurs, the way we picture the origins of birds, and even the exhibits we see in museums. Were velociraptors really terrifying feathered predators? Or were they simply grounded birds mistaken for dinosaurs? The answer could reshape paleontology for years to come. Closing thought. Science is rarely settled. For every fossil discovery, there's a new interpretation. For every accepted theory, there's someone bold enough to challenge it. So the next time you see an image of a feather-covered dinosaur, remember, it might not be a fact. It might just be one possible story among many. Dinosaurs may never have had feathers at all. And if that's true, then the real story of how birds came to be is still waiting to be uncovered.
Welcome to Sophia Science, the YouTube channel that answers all your questions about the world of science, including science mysteries, aliens. The content of today's video is:
Do men make women gain weight? The hidden truth behind relationships and the scale. When two people fall in love and decide to move in together, life seems full of joy, warmth, and shared moments. But hidden beneath the laughter, the candlelit dinners, and the cozy nights on the couch, there may be an unexpected side effect: weight gain, especially for women. According to Dr. David Haslam, an obesity specialist in the UK, living with men might be one of the silent factors that cause women to put on extra pounds. His research suggests that it isn't just about love and companionship, it's also about food, lifestyle changes, and subtle social habits that slowly expand the waistline. Bigger portions, bigger problems. Men naturally have higher energy needs than women. They burn more calories and therefore tend to eat larger, richer meals. But when women begin to share the same meals with their partner, the balance shifts. What was once a simple, portion-controlled dinner can quickly become a hearty plate full of meat, carbs, and even alcohol. Meals transform into social events rather than just fueling the body. And with every shared bite, extra calories sneak in. The grocery list transformation. Living with a man doesn't just change your portion size, it changes your shopping cart. Instead of sticking to vegetables, fruits, and lean basics, couples often find their weekly grocery list slowly shifting toward fattier, richer foods. Add to that more frequent restaurant dinners, and the scale begins to reflect the difference. Exercise takes a backseat. Another subtle change happens outside the kitchen. Many women who once dedicated time to the gym or regular workouts may sacrifice that routine to spend time with their partner. A skipped fitness class here, a cozy movie night there, and slowly, activity levels drop. Over time, the combination of bigger meals and fewer workouts begins to show itself around the waistline. The extra factors, contraceptives and childbirth. Dr. Haslam also points out that biological and medical factors intensify the effect. Birth control pills, for instance, may cause some women to gain up to 2 kilograms, about 4.5 pounds, in the first 3 months of use. Add childbirth to the equation, and it's clear why many women struggle with post-pregnancy weight that never fully goes away. Each factor on its own is already a challenge, but when they all combine, larger portions, less exercise, contraceptives, and pregnancy, the results can be dramatic. Modern life and less movement. Modern conveniences also play their part. With technology, household chores that once required physical effort are now easier than ever. Some couples share the load or even hire help, leaving women less physically active than in the past. While this saves time, it also reduces everyday calorie burn. Not all relationships are the same. Of course, Dr. Haslam emphasizes that not every relationship leads to weight gain. It's not the presence of men that is inherently harmful, but rather the lifestyle changes that often follow. Love itself is not the problem. It's how we eat, move, and live when we are in love. Couples who are mindful about their diets, stay active together, and maintain a balanced lifestyle can avoid these pitfalls. The takeaway. So, do men really make women gain weight? In a way, yes. But not because of intent. It's the shared meals, the bigger portions, the skipped workouts, and the social lifestyle that often accompany relationships. The good news is that awareness is the first step. By recognizing these patterns, women and couples in general can make healthier choices together. After all, love should make us happier, not heavier. That's the hidden story behind romance and weight gain. A reminder that relationships don't just shape our hearts, they shape our bodies too.
Welcome to Sophia Science, the YouTube channel that answers all your questions about the world of science, including science mysteries, aliens. The content of today's video is:
Does deforestation really cause massive floods? The truth revealed. Imagine the heavy rains pouring down over Central America, rivers swelling and rushing past their banks, entire villages submerged under muddy waters. For decades, people have pointed to a single culprit behind these devastating floods: deforestation. The belief is simple: cut down the trees, and the land loses its natural shield, leaving humans vulnerable to disaster. But here's the surprising twist. Scientists from the United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, have raised serious doubts about this commonly held belief. Their findings challenge what governments, environmentalists, and even local communities have long considered to be undeniable truth. According to the FAO, major floods have been occurring regularly for more than a century. And here's the key point: the world's forests have only been shrinking rapidly in the last few decades. If deforestation were the main cause of catastrophic floods, then such disasters should have only become common recently. Yet history shows otherwise. So, what role do forests actually play? FAO scientists acknowledge that forests act like a sponge, absorbing rainfall and slowing down smaller floods. Trees hold the soil together, preventing fertile land from being washed away. They protect water resources and ecosystems. But when it comes to truly massive natural disasters, floods caused by extreme weather, powerful storms, or rivers bursting their banks, forests are simply not strong enough to hold back nature's fury. This claim flies in the face of political decisions made in the past. Take China, for example. After the catastrophic flooding of the Yangtze and Yellow Rivers in 1998, the Chinese government imposed strict logging bans. Entire communities of loggers lost their jobs. Thousands of families were displaced, all in the name of flood prevention. Yet, according to the FAO,
such drastic measures did little, if anything, to prevent future floods of that scale. So, if forests are not the magic shield we thought they were, why are floods becoming more devastating today? The FAO points to another, often overlooked factor: human settlement in flood-prone areas. As populations grow and more people build homes and businesses along riverbanks and floodplains, what might have once been a manageable seasonal flood now turns into a large-scale human catastrophe. In other words, it's not just nature, it's us putting ourselves in harm's way. Still, this doesn't mean forests aren't valuable. On the contrary, forests are critical for protecting soil, regulating water cycles, preserving biodiversity, and storing carbon. They are essential for long-term ecological health. But the FAO warns against oversimplifying their role. Saying that forests alone can stop massive floods is misleading, and it can even lead to misguided policies that hurt the poorest communities who depend on forests for survival. So, the truth is more complex than the myths. Yes, forests help mitigate smaller floods and protect vital resources. But no, they are not a silver bullet against the overwhelming force of nature. As the FAO reminds us, addressing floods requires a much broader approach: smarter urban planning, better infrastructure, early warning systems, and sustainable land use. The next time you hear someone say, "cutting down trees causes massive floods," remember this: the real picture is much more complicated. Forests are vital, but floods are shaped by a mix of human choices, natural forces, and where we decide to live.
Eat chili, sleep better. The surprising secret to heart health. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine sitting at the dinner table. The meal is hot, steaming, and delicious. On the side, a little sprinkle of chili peppers, just enough to give your tongue that fiery kick. For many people, chili is not just food, it's passion, culture, and even addiction. But here's the twist. That fiery red spice might be doing far more than waking up your taste buds. According to science, chili peppers could actually help you sleep better and protect your heart. The stronger, poor sleep, on the other hand, raises stress, disrupts metabolism, and increases the risk of cardiovascular disease. So yes, something as simple as eating chili might be a natural key to better sleep. The lead researcher, Dominic Girardi, explained why chili works this way. Inside chili peppers are natural compounds that influence insulin and glucose levels in the blood. By regulating these processes, chili helps the body enter a more balanced state, making it easier to drift off into sleep. And when sleep improves, the heart benefits. Stress on the cardiovascular system is reduced, lowering the risk of dangerous conditions like hypertension, stroke, and heart disease. So, should you eat more chili? Before you start dumping chili into every meal, remember, balance is the key. Eating a small amount every day, just like the people in the study, seems to be enough to create these health benefits. The takeaway is simple. If you love chili, keep enjoying it. Your body may thank you. If you're not a fan, maybe try adding a little spice to your meals. You might discover not just a new flavor, but also a new way to take care of your health. Who would have thought that something so small, so simple, and so spicy could make such a difference? Chili peppers aren't just about heat and flavor. They may hold the secret to better sleep, healthier hearts, and a longer life. So the next time you're about to push that little red pepper to the side of your plate, maybe give it a chance. Your taste buds and your heart might just thank you.
Eat or drink. The truth about fruits and vegetables. We all know that adding more fruits and vegetables to our daily diet is one of the best ways to protect our health, fight aging, and even prevent chronic diseases like heart disease and cancer. But here's a fascinating debate that has been going on for years. Should we eat fruits and vegetables whole or drink them as juice? Let's dive deep into this question. The benefits of eating whole fruits and vegetables. Imagine peeling a fresh orange. With every bite, you're not just tasting the refreshing sweetness of vitamin C and natural sugars, you're also getting something powerful that juice alone can't give you: fiber. Fiber is like nature's secret weapon. Here's why it matters. Prevents constipation. Fiber absorbs water, softens your stool, stimulates your intestines, and helps your body release waste naturally. Protects your heart and gallbladder. Fiber binds with bile acids in your intestines, lowering cholesterol and reducing the risk of gallstones and heart disease. Helps control your weight. Because fiber slows digestion, it prevents your blood sugar from spiking too quickly. This keeps you fuller for longer and reduces the chance of excess calories turning into fat. Simply put, when you eat whole fruits, the natural sugars enter your bloodstream slowly, keeping your energy level stable and your mood balanced. That's why eating fruit makes you feel satisfied, not just in the moment, but for hours afterward. Now, let's talk about juice. Freshly squeezed vegetable and fruit juices are like a quick nutrient shot for your body. The vitamins, antioxidants, and minerals are absorbed almost immediately into your bloodstream, giving you a boost of hydration and energy. Juice is especially helpful when your body needs fast recovery, after exercise, during illness, or when you're simply too busy to sit down for a full meal. But here's the catch. Not all juices are created equal. The colorful bottles you see in stores, those packaged fruit drinks and sodas, whether carbonated or not, often contain little more than sugar, flavoring, artificial coloring, and preservatives. Real fruit? Only a trace. That's why if you're going to drink juice, the best option is always to make it fresh at home. So, which is better? Eating whole fruits and vegetables give you long-term health benefits. Better digestion, lower cholesterol, controlled weight, and protection against diseases often called diseases of affluence, like obesity, diabetes, and colon cancer. Drinking juice, on the other hand, is great for a quick energy fix and rapid nutrient absorption, especially when made fresh and natural. The truth is, it's not about choosing one over the other. It's about knowing when your body needs the slow, lasting benefits of whole fruits and when it craves the fast boost that only fresh juice can deliver. Final thought. Think of fruits and vegetables as gifts from nature, offering us two powerful ways to heal and nourish our bodies. Whole fruits feed us slowly and steadily, while juice refreshes us and revitalizes us instantly. So the answer isn't eat or drink, the answer is both wisely. Your health, your energy, and even your longevity may depend on finding that perfect balance.
Welcome to Sophia Science, the YouTube channel that answers all your questions about the world of science, including science mysteries, aliens. The content of today's video is
Eating fish can protect your baby's brain. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this. A mother, still carrying life within her, sits down for a meal. On her plate, a simple piece of fish. To most of us, it's just food, rich in flavor, light, and healthy. But to the tiny brain forming inside her womb, that single meal could be nothing short of a gift of intelligence, memory, and vision. Scientists from Harvard University, led by Dr. Emily Okun, have once again confirmed what ancient wisdom and modern nutrition agree upon. Fish is one of the best foods for the brain. In their study of 135 mothers and their babies, something fascinating was revealed. The mothers who ate more fish during the second trimester, the middle 3 months of pregnancy, gave birth to babies who, at just 6 months old, showed remarkable cognitive skills. These infants performed impressively in special memory and vision tests. And the reason? Fish is loaded with omega-3 fatty acids, the essential building blocks of the human brain. Omega-3s, especially DHA, help form the very structure of brain cells, improve connections between neurons, and fuel the development of vision. Simply put, omega-3 is brain food at its purest. How the study was done? The researchers didn't just take the mother's word for it. They carefully tracked how often these women ate fish during pregnancy. They also tested their hair samples to check for mercury, a heavy metal known to be harmful to brain development. When the babies reached 6 months, the scientists gave them a fascinating test. Each child was shown a picture several times, enough to become familiar with it. Then, a new picture was placed beside the old one. Would the baby recognize the familiar image and spend more time staring at the new one? The answer was clear. Babies whose mothers ate more fish were quicker, sharper, and more curious. In fact, for every extra serving of fish the mother ate each week, the baby's test score increased by about 4 points. That's a huge boost for such a simple dietary choice. But there's a catch: mercury. Not all fish are safe. The study also showed that when mothers had high levels of mercury in their hair, their babies scored lower on the same tests. This reveals an important truth. While fish is powerful brain food, some types of seafood can also be dangerous during pregnancy. Mercury is a natural element in our environment, but it's also released through industrial pollution. Over time, it makes its way into rivers, lakes, and oceans where it accumulates in fish. The larger and older the fish, the more mercury it tends to have. That's why experts strongly warn pregnant women to avoid high-mercury fish, such as shark, swordfish, king mackerel. Instead, they recommend choosing safer, healthier options like salmon, white tuna, which has less mercury than albacore tuna, and other small, white fish, which usually contain less mercury, though also less omega-3. The big picture. So, what's the takeaway? If you're pregnant or planning to be, adding safe omega-3 rich fish to your weekly meals can give your baby a head start in life. It's a natural brain booster, improving memory, vision, and intelligence even before your child says their first word. But at the same time, being careful about the type of fish you eat is just as important. It's a delicate balance, choosing seafood that's rich in nutrients but low in mercury. Scientists like Dr. Oken believe that with the right choices, fish can be one of the most powerful tools for building a brighter, sharper future for the next generation. So next time you see that piece of salmon or tuna on your plate, remember, it's not just food. It could be the foundation of intelligence, curiosity, and vision for a new life.
Europe's $170 million satellite falls into the Arctic Ocean, the lost mission of Cryosat. Imagine spending years designing, building, and preparing one of the most advanced satellites in Europe, only to lose it before it even completes a single orbit around our planet. This is the tragic story of Cryosat, a $170 million satellite built by the European Space Agency. Designed to unlock secrets hidden in the polar ice caps. Its mission? To measure the thickness of ice in the Arctic and Antarctic with unmatched precision, and to give humanity a clearer understanding of how global warming is reshaping our world. But on that Saturday, at the Plesetsk Cosmodrome in northern Russia, everything went wrong. At first, it seemed like a smooth launch. Cryosat, attached to a Russian rocket, soared into the skies, leaving behind clouds of smoke and fire as it began its journey into orbit. Scientists and engineers held their breath, waiting for signals of success. And then, silence. Just 6 minutes after liftoff, the satellite failed to respond to mission control. The second stage of the rocket never separated as planned. Instead of gliding into orbit, Cryosat was trapped in a malfunctioning system. For 90 agonizing minutes, hope flickered that perhaps the mission could still be saved. But that hope soon died. Cryosat plunged into the icy waters of the Arctic Ocean, never completing even one orbit around Earth. A decade of planning, months of testing, and an enormous financial investment all gone in less than 2 hours. For the European Space Agency, this was more than just a technological failure. It was a heartbreaking loss of critical data that could have helped scientists track the thinning of polar ice, study the acceleration of climate change, and provide vital information for the future of our planet. Cryosat's story is a stark reminder that space exploration is never easy. Even with the brightest minds, advanced engineering, and years of preparation, a single malfunction can erase everything in an instant. But the dream did not die with Cryosat. The mission inspired new satellites,
and lessons learned from this disaster helped improve the reliability of future launches. Though this particular spacecraft lies at the bottom of the Arctic Ocean, its legacy continues to push science forward. Because in the end, space exploration is about more than success. It's about persistence, courage, and the will to try again, no matter how devastating the setbacks may be.
Welcome to Sophia Science, the YouTube channel that answers all your questions about the world of science, including science mysteries, aliens. The content of today's video is
HIV's hidden war, how the virus quietly destroys the human brain. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this: a virus so powerful, so cunning, that it doesn't just cripple your body's defenses, it also creeps silently into your brain, thinning it out, leaving behind invisible scars that change who you are. This is the shocking reality of HIV, a virus long feared for destroying the immune system, now revealed to also be an enemy of the mind. The unseen damage. Scientists in the United States, using advanced 3D MRI brain scans, have uncovered something chilling. In patients with AIDS, the brain appears to shrink, its protective tissues thinning out by as much as 10 to 15% compared to healthy individuals. This is not a minor change. This thinning happens even when patients are already taking antiretroviral drugs, the very medicines designed to keep the virus under control. And here's the devastating truth. About 40% of HIV patients show abnormal neurological symptoms. Some struggle with memory loss, others with impaired motor control, and many with cognitive decline that ranges from mild confusion to full-blown dementia. What the scans reveal: the scans showed that HIV attacks regions most people take for granted, the primary sensory areas, where we process the world around us, the motor and premotor cortices, where movement is controlled. Unlike Alzheimer's disease, where specific brain areas degrade over time, HIV's assault appears broader, linked to the loss of CD4 cells, the very markers of immune strength. The fewer CD4 cells remain, the more severe the brain damage becomes. Why this matters? Modern medicine has extended life expectancy for millions living with HIV, but longer life does not always mean a healthy mind. At least 2 out of every 2 patients will experience some form of cognitive decline, even if their treatment is working. This raises haunting questions. How much of a person's identity is eroded by this silent brain damage? Can current HIV therapies ever truly protect the mind, not just the body? And most importantly, can science find a way to shield the brain from the virus's relentless grip? A new frontier in HIV research. Dr. Paul Thompson and his colleagues at the University of California in Pittsburgh are pushing forward. Their mission? To understand whether brain protective drugs can counteract the damage and whether these can safely be combined with HIV treatments already in use. For now, the war continues. HIV doesn't just destroy the immune system, it wages a hidden war on the human brain, reshaping the way we think, move, and experience the world. So the next time you hear about HIV, remember, it's not only about the immune system, it's about the mind, our very sense of self, being chipped away piece by piece. The fight against HIV is not just about survival anymore, it's about protecting the very essence of who we are.
Welcome to Sophia Science, the YouTube channel that answers all your questions about the world of science, including science mysteries, aliens. The content of today's video is
Intersex, from ancient myths to modern science. Close your eyes and imagine a time when the world was whole and humans were not just male or female, but something more. According to Greek mythology, humanity once existed in 3 forms: male, female, and both combined, beings who carried the essence of 2 genders within one body. But the gods grew jealous of their power and unity. Zeus, in his anger, split them apart, forcing humans to wander the earth, forever searching for their missing half. And that endless search, the myth says, is what we now call love. From those ancient tales came the figure of Hermaphrodite, the child of Hermes and Aphrodite. When a nymph fell hopelessly in love with him and begged the gods to merge their bodies forever, her wish was granted. The result? a being both male and female, symbolized in statues across the ancient world, sometimes revered, sometimes feared. But behind the myths lies a biological reality, what we now know as intersex. Intersex in nature and history. In nature, intersex isn't so unusual. Creatures like snails, worms, and even certain fish can switch between male and female roles throughout their lives. But when a human child is born with ambiguous or mixed sexual characteristics, history has not always been kind. In ancient times, such births were seen as signs of divine anger. In some cultures, babies with ambiguous sex were abandoned or even killed. Yet in others, they were revered, believed to embody mystical power, carrying the strength of both genders, often given special religious roles. What science says today? The old word hermaphrodite has fallen out of use. Today, doctors and researchers use the term intersex, or sometimes differences of sex development, or DSD. Biologically, being intersex means that a person's body does not fit the strict medical definitions of male or female. This can appear in many ways. A girl may be born with XY chromosomes, yet her body develops entirely female characteristics due to androgen insensitivity syndrome. A boy may be born with XX chromosomes, but develop male features due to hormonal variations. Some children are born with external genitals that appear ambiguous, neither typically male nor female. Others might look fully male or female at birth, but only discover their intersex traits during puberty, when changes do not happen as expected. In extremely rare cases, a person may even carry both ovarian and testicular tissue, a condition once called true hermaphrodism. The human challenge. For families, having a child with intersex traits often brings confusion, fear, and difficult questions. Should the child be raised as a boy or a girl? Should doctors intervene early with surgery or hormones? Or should the child be allowed to grow up and decide their gender identity themselves? For centuries, doctors tried to fix intersex bodies through early surgeries. But today, more and more experts warn against such irreversible decisions. Why? Because a child might grow up and realize the gender chosen for them does not match how they truly feel inside. Many intersex people advocate for delaying surgery until they're old enough to decide for themselves. After all, gender identity is not only about anatomy. It's also about mind, spirit, and self-understanding. Myths, identity, and respect. The question remains, what does it mean to be intersex? Are they male, female, or both? The truth is more complex. Intersex individuals are as diverse as any other group of humans. Some identify as male, some as female, and others reject binary labels altogether. What matters most is not forcing them into boxes, but recognizing their humanity. Modern psychology shows that with love, acceptance, and freedom to choose, intersex people can live full, happy, and healthy lives. In fact, intersex people remind us of something profound, that gender has never been as simple as male and female. From ancient myths to modern genetics, the human story has always contained shades of both masculine and feminine. What ancient cultures saw as divine punishment or blessing, modern science now understands as a natural variation of life. And what was once hidden in shame or mysticism is now beginning to be seen for what it truly is, another way of being human. So the next time you hear the word intersex, remember, it is not just a medical term, nor just a myth from long ago. It is a reminder that gender, identity, and humanity are far more diverse than we were once taught to believe. Maybe Zeus split us apart, But in truth, perhaps the people we call intersex are living proof that within every human lies the potential for more than one side of existence.
Men can get breast cancer, too. The hidden truth you need to know. When you hear the words breast cancer, what image immediately comes to mind? For most of us, it's women, mothers, daughters, sisters, wives. Breast cancer is widely seen as a women's disease. But here's the shocking truth. Men can get breast cancer, too. Yes, you heard that right. Although it is rare, accounting for only about 1 in every 100 breast cancer cases, the disease can and does strike men, often with devastating consequences. Why men are at risk, too. Just like women, men have breast tissue. It's small and undeveloped, but it's there. And because it exists, it can also develop cancer. Most cases of male breast cancer are diagnosed in men over 60 years old, but it can affect younger men as well. And the disease in men behaves much like it does in women. The most common form appears suddenly in the breast tissue, often with 2 key warning signs: a small, painless lump in the breast, or discharge from the nipple. Unfortunately, many men ignore these symptoms or don't even realize they could be signs of cancer until it's too late. The research that shines a light. For the first time, a researcher in the United States decided to focus specifically on how men react when they are diagnosed with breast cancer. Her name is Edie Pituskin, a nurse at the Cross Cancer Institute and a student at the University of Alberta in Canada. She studied 20 men between the ages of 44 and 85, all diagnosed with breast cancer. She wanted to know, what happens to their lives after the diagnosis? How do they cope? How do they respond to society, to their families, to themselves? The emotional impact. The first reaction was, almost universally, shock. Pituskin explained, most men don't even know they can get this disease. Imagine going to the doctor, expecting something minor, only to hear the words, "You have breast cancer." From there, reactions varied. Some men kept the diagnosis a secret, afraid of the stigma. Others, however, felt a strong need to spread awareness. One man went so far as to take off his shirt at work, showing his surgical scars to his colleagues, determined to let others know this was real. Another man admitted that his sense of identity was shattered. He felt less masculine, lost his desire for women, and struggled with intimacy. Many said they could no longer go swimming without a shirt, fearing people would stare at their chest. Why awareness matters. Edie Pituskin's research was groundbreaking, not because it found a new treatment, but because it highlighted a truth that society often overlooks. Men can suffer deeply, both physically and emotionally, from breast cancer. Her hope is to raise awareness so that men understand the risks, doctors consider breast cancer when diagnosing male patients, and most importantly, men get help early when the disease is still treatable, because early diagnosis can make all the difference. Final message. So, if you're a man, or if you have fathers, brothers, or friends in your life, remember this.
breast cancer is not just a women's disease. If you ever notice unusual changes in the chest, a lump, or discharge from the nipple, don't ignore it. Don't brush it aside. Talk to a doctor. Spreading awareness could save lives. And maybe, just maybe, by breaking the silence, we can remove the stigma that keeps men suffering in the shadows. Conclusion for YouTube narration. Breast cancer does not discriminate. It doesn't care if you're male or female. What matters is that we recognize it, talk about it, and fight it together.
Mount Everest is shrinking, the mystery behind its lost height. For centuries, Mount Everest has stood as the ultimate symbol of Earth's majesty, the highest point on our planet, reaching above the clouds, challenging generations of climbers, and inspiring awe in all who behold it. But what if I told you that the roof of the world is actually shrinking? That's right. Recent measurements show that Mount Everest has lost nearly 4 meters of its height. The new measurement. According to the latest expedition by Chinese scientists, the summit of Mount Gomolungma, what we call Mount Everest, now measures 8,844.43 meters above sea level. This figure was officially announced by China's National Geology Authority on October 9th. And here's the shocking part. It is 3.7 meters lower than what was recorded in 1975, when Everest stood proudly at 8,848.13 meters. At first glance, a few meters may not sound like much for a mountain that towers nearly 9 kilometers high. But in geological terms, this is a massive change, and one that speaks volumes about the state of our planet. Why is Everest losing height? Scientists believe the main culprit is none other than global warming. As Earth's climate heats up, glaciers and snowcaps around the world are melting at alarming rates. Everest, draped in ice and snow, is no exception. The accelerated melting and collapse of ice and snow layers near its summit are gradually reducing its overall height. Think of it this way. Everest's towering crown is built not only from solid rock, but also from layers of ice and compacted snow. As those icy layers thin and crumble away, the mountain appears to shrink. The fact that the tallest mountain on Earth is getting shorter reflects the dramatic impact of climate change, especially in fragile environments like the Himalayas. These mountains are often called the third pole because they store vast reserves of ice and fresh water, second only to the Arctic and Antarctic. When these glaciers vanish, the consequences ripple far beyond Everest. Billions of people in Asia depend on rivers fed by Himalayan glaciers. Melting ice contributes to rising sea levels, flooding, and ecological instability across the globe. The symbolic weight of Everest. For climbers, Everest is the ultimate test of endurance. For scientists, it's a natural laboratory. For humanity, it's a symbol of reaching higher, of striving to conquer the impossible. But now, as its height slips away year by year, Everest silently tells us a story not of human triumph, but of human impact. It is a reminder that no peak, no matter how tall, is beyond the reach of climate change. A call to action. The shrinking of Mount Everest is a call to pay attention. If the very roof of our world is melting away, what does that say about the rest of our planet? Climate change is not a distant problem reserved for polar bears or faraway glaciers. It is here, reshaping landscapes, altering ecosystems, and even lowering the tallest mountain on Earth. The question is, will we listen?
NASA's bold plan, sending next-generation robots into space.
When we think of space exploration, most of us imagine astronauts in bulky suits, floating among the stars, bravely venturing into the unknown. But what if I told you that in the not-so-distant future, the pioneers of space may not all be human, but robots? NASA has announced an ambitious vision. Over the next 15 years, the agency plans to launch a new generation of advanced robots into space. These machines are not just gadgets or tools, they are future space workers designed to assist astronauts, build habitats, and even prepare for life on other worlds. X hash X hash X hash C X hash X X hash X X hash C X hash X X hash X X hash C X hash X X hash C X hash X X hash X. Robots for the next era of exploration. The first task for these machines is clear. They will help in the construction and maintenance of the International Space Station. But NASA's dream doesn't stop there. The long-term plan includes sending robots to the Moon and eventually even Mars, where they will help build and maintain stations that could one day support human life. Let's take a closer look at some of the most exciting robotic pioneers NASA has in development. X hash X hash X hash C X hash X X hash X X hash C X hash X X hash X X hash X X hash C X hash X X hash X. Robonaut, the human-like helper. One of NASA's most promising creations is Robonaut. This isn't your typical robot. It's designed to look, move, and even learn like a human. Robonaut has advanced sensors that allow it to perceive its surroundings, along with hands that can mimic human movements. Imagine a robotic partner that can hold tools, tighten bolts, and assemble intricate components in space, jobs that would be extremely difficult or dangerous for astronauts. In the future, Robonauts may become the perfect assistants for astronauts, taking over delicate construction work in orbit or on the lunar surface. X hash X hash X hash C X hash X X hash X X hash C X hash X X hash X X hash C X hash X X hash X. Mini Air Remote, the floating eye in the sky. Next up is the Mini Air Remote, a small but powerful flying device. Picture it as a drone for space. This machine is designed to zip around spacecraft or the International Space Station, capturing high-resolution images of hard-to-reach areas. Instead of astronauts struggling to crawl outside in dangerous conditions, the Mini Air Remote can perform inspections quickly and safely, acting as a guardian eye in orbit. X hash X hash X hash C X hash X X hash X X hash C X hash X X hash X X hash C X hash X X hash X. Spidernaut, the multi-limbed transporter. Perhaps the most futuristic of them all is the Spidernaut. Unlike wheeled rovers, this robot is built with 4 to 6 strong mechanical legs, giving it the ability to walk, climb, and transport heavy loads across rugged terrain. Spidernaut isn't just for carrying tools, it's designed to move other robots, equipment, and even people across the uneven lunar landscape. With its unique design, it could play a key role in setting up moon bases, transporting supplies, and handling special tasks in environments that are simply too extreme for humans. X hash X hash X hash C X hash X X hash X X hash C X hash X X hash X X hash C X hash X X hash X. A glimpse of the future. Together, these machines represent the dawn of a new era in space exploration. Instead of replacing astronauts, they will work alongside humans, taking on dangerous or repetitive jobs, reducing risks, and paving the way for permanent human settlement beyond Earth. In many ways, NASA's vision feels like science fiction brought to life. From human-like assistants to spider-like transporters, these robots could change the very way we imagine space missions. One day, when we look up at the Moon or Mars, we might not just picture astronauts exploring, but also their robotic companions, tirelessly building the foundations of humanity's future in space. Because in the end, the story of space exploration will not only be written by human hands, but also by the hands, legs, and circuits of the robots that journey with us.
Pomegranate juice, a natural weapon against prostate cancer. Close your eyes for a moment and picture a fruit so ordinary yet so extraordinary. A fruit with a ruby red heart, bursting with juice and crowned as one of nature's oldest symbols of health and life, the pomegranate. For centuries, pomegranates have been celebrated for their sweetness, their beauty, and their cultural symbolism. But today, modern science is uncovering something even more astonishing. This humble fruit may also hold the power to fight one of the most common and deadly cancers in men, prostate cancer. A silent threat to men's health. Prostate cancer is not a rare disease. In fact, it is one of the most widespread cancers among men. In the United Kingdom alone, around 30,000 men are diagnosed every single year, and tragically, 10,000 of them lose their lives to it. Behind each number is a father, a brother, a husband, or a friend. With statistics this sobering, researchers around the world have been racing to find better ways to prevent, manage, or even stop this disease. And their search has led them to an unexpected hero: the pomegranate. The breakthrough discovery. Scientists at the University of Wisconsin recently carried out an eye-opening study. At first, they tested pomegranate juice on human prostate cancer cells grown in a laboratory dish. The results were remarkable. Cancer cells exposed to pomegranate extract began to die off, and the more juice they used, the more cells were destroyed. But the research didn't stop there. The team then moved to animal studies, implanting prostate cancer cells into mice. These mice were divided into two groups. One group was given only water. The other group was given water enhanced with a small amount of pomegranate juice, just 0.1 to 0.2%. The difference was striking. The tumors in mice that received pomegranate juice grew far more slowly than in those that drank plain water. And again, the effect was dose-dependent. The more pomegranate juice they consumed, the stronger the cancer-fighting effect. Why the pomegranate? So what makes this fruit so powerful? The answer lies in its incredible composition. Pomegranates are packed with antioxidants, natural compounds that fight free radicals, repair damage at the cellular level, and reduce inflammation. Together, these properties form a natural defense against cancer growth. Professor Hassan Mukhtar, the lead researcher, explained it best. Although our research is still in its early stages, our findings confirm that the pomegranate is rich in anti-cancer agents, particularly effective against prostate cancer. Echoes from past studies. This isn't the first time scientists have been impressed by the pomegranate. Previous studies, including one from Israel, showed that just one glass of pomegranate juice a day could significantly reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease. And now, with evidence pointing toward its anti-cancer properties, the pomegranate is beginning to look like one of nature's most powerful medicinal foods. A ray of hope. Dr. Chris Hiley from the UK Prostate Cancer Charity added his voice to the excitement, calling the results highly significant. He explained, "This research not only offers hope for men already battling prostate cancer, but also suggests that diet, something as simple as drinking pomegranate juice, could play a vital role in preventing the disease in the first place." Imagine that for a moment. Something as simple, accessible, and natural as a glass of pomegranate juice could help slow or even stop one of the deadliest cancers affecting men worldwide. The bigger lesson. Of course, no single fruit can replace medical treatment, but what this study reminds us is that our diet matters more than we think. The foods we eat every day either nurture our health or slowly harm it. And among them, fruits like the pomegranate stand out as powerful allies. So next time you walk past a pomegranate at the market, don't just see it as another piece of fruit. See it as a jewel of nature, one that can strengthen your heart, protect your cells, and maybe even save lives. Because sometimes the greatest weapons against disease don't come from a pharmacy, they come from nature itself.
Space Elevator, humanity's first steps to building a highway to the stars. The main content in this video includes the grand dream, building a space elevator linking Earth to the cosmos. Key technology, a 100,000-kilometer carbon nanotube cable stretching from the equator to orbit. First test, the robot Sword of Damocles climbs 305 meters on a prototype tether. Using helium balloons and fiberglass cable to simulate the elevator concept. Future plans, tests with GPS, communication systems, sensors, and cameras. Potential game changer, replacing rockets for transporting cargo, satellites, even humans into space. Is this the highway to the stars, or just a distant science fiction dream? Now, let's get started. Space elevator, humanity's boldest dream. Imagine this. One day, instead of rockets shaking the skies with fire and thunder, we could simply step into a cabin, close the doors, and quietly ride upward, leaving Earth behind. No smoke, no deafening roar, just a smooth, steady climb straight into space. This is the dream of the space elevator, an idea that sounds like pure science fiction, but today scientists are taking the first real steps to make it a reality. Recently, a private company in the United States carried out a secret experiment marking the beginning of humanity's most ambitious project, building a bridge that connects Earth to the stars. According to NASA, this test was conducted on September 20th at a hidden site in eastern Washington. The location had to remain secret because if anything went wrong, if the test vehicle fell, it could be dangerous for anyone nearby. Safety was everything. So, what would a real space elevator look like? Engineers envision a giant tether stretching an unbelievable 100,000 kilometers into the sky, anchored at the equator, reaching far beyond the atmosphere, and held in balance by a massive counterweight orbiting in space. This cosmic cable would be made of carbon nanotubes, thinner than a strand of hair, yet stronger than steel by orders of magnitude. Along this cable, robotic climbers would carry satellites, supplies, and even people, silently gliding into space. In the recent test, the team used a helium balloon, 1 meter in diameter, to hold a lightweight tether made of fiberglass. Along this tether climbed a remarkable machine with a dramatic name, the Sword of Damocles. But this wasn't just any prototype. It was version 18, refined through trial and error, powered by batteries, driven by 2 engines, and equipped with a small cargo bay. During the tests, the robot successfully climbed to a height of 305 meters. Now, 305 meters may not sound like much, but to the scientists, this was proof of concept, a historic step, showing that their climbing robot could actually grip the tether, ascend, and perform reliably. Company director Mr. Lane proudly declared, "This success proves we can go higher, much higher." The next steps will involve larger helium balloons lifting the system into the upper atmosphere. Future tests will also focus on essential technologies, communication links, satellite positioning, sensors, cameras, and the ability to withstand the extreme temperatures of near space. Of course, weather remains the greatest challenge. Strong winds or storms could ruin an entire experiment. That's why the exact schedule is uncertain. But new testing sites are already on the list: Washington, Colorado, and North Carolina. If this dream comes true,
the space elevator could revolutionize space travel. No more rockets costing hundreds of millions of dollars, no more fiery explosions on the launch pad. Space would no longer be distant. It would be as close as stepping into an elevator. One day, perhaps you or I could simply press a button and ascend calmly into orbit, as if riding to the top floor of a skyscraper. The only question is, will we see this dream realized within our lifetime? Or will the space elevator remain forever a legend of science, suspended between imagination and the stars?
Welcome to Sophia Science, the YouTube channel that answers all your questions about the world of science, including science mysteries, aliens. The content of today's video is
Super rubber. From fleas, the secret to nature's ultimate elasticity. Imagine a rubber band that never wears out. A material so elastic it could stretch hundreds of millions of times without breaking. A rubber so perfect that it outperforms even the bounciest synthetic rubbers humans have ever made. Sounds like science fiction, right? Well, nature had already perfected this material long before we even dreamed of it. And the secret lies in one of the tiniest, most underestimated creatures on Earth, the flea. The jumping superpower of fleas. Fleas are not just annoying little parasites. These tiny insects are equipped with an astonishing biological spring. With a single push, they can launch themselves more than 200 times their own body length into the air. That would be the equivalent of a human jumping onto the roof of a 10-story building in one leap. The secret behind this incredible athleticism is resilin, a super-elastic protein found in the legs of fleas and other insects like cicadas and honeybees. Resilin is nature's ultimate energy storage system. It acts like a molecular spring, storing energy and then releasing it explosively to power those breathtaking jumps. And it's not just about jumping. Honeybees, for example, rely on resilin every time they beat their wings. Thanks to this protein, a bee can flap its wings more than 500 million times in its lifetime without wearing them out. Cicadas use it to make their deafening drum-like calls, vibrating thousands of times without tearing their tissues, turning nature's elastic protein into super rubber. For decades, scientists have marveled at resilin. It was first discovered over 40 years ago, but until recently, no one had managed to recreate it outside of insects. That changed when Dr. Christopher Elvin and his research team at CSIRO in Australia made a breakthrough. They took the gene responsible for producing resilin from fruit flies and inserted it into bacteria. These bacteria became tiny protein factories, generating large amounts of the precious elastic peptide. Once harvested, the protein was treated with light, causing it to form a solid material. The result? A new kind of rubber, described by Dr. Elvin himself as almost like the perfect rubber. Better than any synthetic rubber we know. The properties of this new material are extraordinary. Unlike synthetic rubbers, which eventually wear down, crack, or lose their bounce, resilin-based rubber maintains its elasticity almost indefinitely. In fact, it can be stretched and released hundreds of millions of times without breaking down. To put this into perspective, even the best man-made rubbers, like polybutadiene, the kind used in super bouncy balls, don't come close to matching this natural wonder. The future of resilin rubber. Right now, scientists can only produce about 1 gram of this rubber per week. But even in small amounts, the possibilities are enormous. In engineering, resilin rubber could be used in microswitches, tiny components that need to operate continuously for years without failure. In medicine, the applications are even more exciting. Because resilin is a protein similar to the ones in our own bodies, it could be used in biomedical implants.
Imagine artificial arteries that stretch and flex like the real thing, or spinal disc replacements that never wear out. And of course, there's always the fun speculation. What if one day we had shoes made from resilient rubber? Could we leap across rooftops like superheroes? Scientists don't know yet, but the thought alone is thrilling. A material born from evolution. What makes this story so fascinating is that nature had already solved the problem of perfect elasticity millions of years ago. Evolution fine-tuned resilient to give insects incredible survival tools, the ability to fly tirelessly, call endlessly, or jump to safety in an instant. Now, humans are just beginning to tap into this biological treasure. With resilient rubber, we might be entering a future where materials don't just mimic nature, they become nature, bringing us closer to biology itself. Closing thought. So the next time you see a flea, don't just think of it as a nuisance. Remember that inside its tiny body lies one of the most extraordinary materials on Earth, an elastic protein that could change the future of engineering, medicine, and maybe even human movement. Who knew that the key to perfect rubber was hiding in the jump of a flea?
The 2,000-year-old mystery of the Egyptian mummy girl. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this. A small child, no more than 5 years old, standing just over 1 meter tall, living in the golden sands of ancient Egypt 2,000 years ago. She laughed, she played, she may have run barefoot through temple courtyards. But her life was cut tragically short. Her tiny body was carefully embalmed, wrapped in linen, and sealed with a hard outer casing, almost like cardboard. Her name, now lost to history, has been replaced by a haunting one, Sherit, an ancient Arabic word meaning little one. For centuries, Sherit lay in silence, preserved as a mummy. Today, she rests inside the Rosicrucian Egyptian Museum in San Jose, California. But recently, her story was brought back to life, thanks not only to archaeology, but to the cutting-edge technology of the 21st century. NASA meets ancient Egypt. In a collaboration that sounds like science fiction, Sherit was brought to the National Biocomputation Center at Stanford, where doctors and scientists working alongside imaging experts from Silicon Graphics set out to unlock her secrets. Using over 60,000 high-resolution X-ray images, they reconstructed her body in astonishing 3D detail. The data they collected provided 35 times more information than the groundbreaking scans done on King Tut's mummy in 2005. And what they discovered was astonishing. What the bones revealed. Sherit's skeleton revealed that she could walk normally, and she had no signs of chronic disease or congenital deformity. Her wisdom teeth had not yet appeared, confirming her young age. But what ended her life so early? Scientists believe she may have fallen victim to the harsh realities of ancient childhood: infection, contaminated food, or poisoned water. In fact, nearly half of Egyptian children in that era died before reaching the age of 2 after being weaned off their mother's milk. Her fate, tragic as it was not unusual in her world. But what is unusual is how carefully she was preserved. Clues to a wealthy family. Her wrappings were sealed with resin. A golden funerary mask, still faintly shimmering, hints that she came from a wealthy, perhaps even noble family. And hidden inside her casing, ancient hieroglyphs may one day reveal her true name, her lineage, and perhaps even her story. Was she the daughter of a priest? A merchant? A member of the pharaoh's household? That mystery remains unsolved. Why her story matters. What makes Sherit extraordinary is not just her preservation, but the way she bridges two worlds, the ancient and the modern.
She connects the wisdom of Egypt's embalmers with the power of NASA's imaging technology. She reminds us that even after 2,000 years, a child's short life can still speak volumes through science. Her silence has lasted millennia, but with each scan, each image, and each discovery, her voice grows louder, and maybe one day we will finally know who Sherritt truly was.
The 18-million-year-old rhino fossil discovery. Imagine unearthing not just a fossil of an ancient creature, but one carrying the unborn life within it. That's exactly what scientists in China have just revealed, an astonishing discovery of a pregnant rhino fossil dating back 18 million years. The remarkable find in Shandong. Archaeologists in Shandong Province, eastern China, were excavating at Shanwang, a site famous for preserving traces of ancient life. Just 22 kilometers northeast of Linkou County, this area is the only intact Miocene-era site in eastern China, preserving ecosystems that flourished between 25 and 13 million years ago. And it was here, buried under layers of volcanic deposits and sediments, that they found something truly extraordinary. The fossil of a hornless rhinoceros, perfectly preserved, still carrying a fetus inside. A snapshot of ancient life. The adult rhino measured 2.7 meters long and 1.7 meters tall, and inside its womb lay a fetus about 70 centimeters long. Its teeth and bones had already developed, almost ready for birth. Scientists believe the mother died about 8 months before giving birth. Professor Li Fenglin from the China University of Geosciences described it as a rare and precious discovery. Fossils of pregnant rhinos are almost unheard of. This fossil essentially froze a moment of life from millions of years ago, a mother and her unborn calf, providing scientists with a breathtaking window into reproduction and survival in the distant past. Who was the hornless rhino? The creature wasn't just any rhino. It was a hornless rhino, an ancestor of today's modern species. Unlike the rhinos we know today, this one had short, stocky limbs, each foot with 3 toes, and a thick, armor-like hide. Hornless rhinos were solitary giants of their time. Much like their modern descendants, they gave birth to only 1 calf per pregnancy, with an extraordinarily long gestation period, 15 to 18 months. The cause of death. How did this pregnant mother die? The Shanwang region was shaped by volcanic activity during the Cenozoic era, about 20 million years ago. Scientists believe the rhino may have perished during one of these catastrophic eruptions, suffocated, buried, and preserved under ash and volcanic debris. It's a tragic end, but one that allowed this incredible fossil to survive, giving us a direct glimpse into a world otherwise lost to time. And treasure trove of ancient creatures. And the rhino wasn't alone. Professor Li and his team also uncovered fossils of deer, spiders, scorpions, and countless other species. In fact, the Shanwang site has yielded over 700 different species of ancient plants and animals, making it one of the most important fossil beds in Asia. Every fossil tells a story of survival, of extinction, of the harsh realities of life millions of years ago. But few stories strike as deeply as that of a mother carrying new life, frozen forever in stone. Why this discovery matters? This fossil isn't just a scientific curiosity. It's a reminder of how fragile life has always been. Long before humans walked the earth, creatures lived, struggled, and perished in ways not so different from today. For paleontologists, the pregnant rhino fossil provides rare insights into the biology, reproduction, and even environmental pressures faced by ancient mammals. And for the rest of us, it offers something even more profound, a sense of connection to the vast, unbroken chain of life that stretches back millions of years.
Welcome to Sophia Science, the YouTube channel that answers all your questions about the world of science, including science mysteries, aliens. The content of today's video is
The Bermuda Triangle, science behind the world's most mysterious death zone. For decades, the Bermuda Triangle has haunted the imagination of sailors, pilots, and storytellers alike. A stretch of ocean once branded a death zone, blamed for countless disappearances of ships and planes. Some call it supernatural. Others whisper of alien forces. But today, scientists have introduced a startling new theory, one that could finally explain the riddle of this infamous triangle. The geography of mystery. The Bermuda Triangle lies off the coast of North America, bordered by Florida, Cuba, and the island of Bermuda. On the surface, it looks like any other patch of the Atlantic Ocean, but its unique geography and climate may create something extraordinary, like a gigantic mirror reflecting invisible forces. When storms sweep across the Atlantic, they unleash powerful infrasound waves, sound waves so low in frequency that human ears cannot hear them. Scientists believe the geography of the Bermuda Triangle causes these waves to bounce, reflect, and converge, amplifying their strength until they reach deadly levels. Now, why does this matter? Because infrasound changes the human mind and body. High-intensity infrasound can trigger feelings of dread, panic, and even the irresistible urge to escape enclosed spaces. These aren't random fears, they are ancient survival instincts, wired into our species after millennia of responding to natural disasters like earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. Now imagine pilots flying over the triangle or sailors trapped on a storm-tossed ship, overwhelmed by sudden waves of fear, disorientation, or hallucinations. They may have abandoned their craft in desperation, never to be seen again. But it doesn't stop there. When infrasound resonates with structures, it can shatter masts, damage ship hulls, and even destabilize aircraft. Some researchers believe this is why vessels vanished without warning, as if swallowed whole by the sea. Now, witnesses have long described strange, milky-like fog in the Bermuda Triangle, thick, ghostly, and suddenly disappearing without a trace. Scientists now suggest that this could be another byproduct of infrasound waves disturbing the atmosphere, condensing moisture into eerie, vanishing clouds. At certain frequencies, infrasound between 5 and 7 Hz can even resonate with mechanical systems, like the pendulums inside clocks, or the very bones of the human body. To those caught within, it would feel like the world itself had turned hostile. No wonder survivors and doomed pilots alike described their last moments with chilling words, like, "The sky looks strange," or "The sea is not normal. Something terrible is happening." Evolutionary fear and animal instincts. What's even more fascinating is that this primal fear triggered by infrasound is not unique to humans. Animals feel it too. Dogs have been known to panic before earthquakes, sometimes even saving children by dragging them to safety. Could it be that sailors and pilots of the past were simply victims of the same instinct, overpowered by fear before disaster struck? Add to that the physical toll: fatigue, nausea, disorientation, even sudden death under extreme infrasound exposure. To the crew of a ship or plane, this could have felt like a supernatural curse. Natural or supernatural? Perhaps the Bermuda Triangle is not ruled by aliens, sea monsters, or time warps, but by something far more terrifying: the invisible power of sound itself. Infrasound waves can travel through water, reflect off the seafloor, and amplify in unpredictable ways, especially in an area with volcanic activity or undersea earthquakes. Each freak storm, each mysterious disappearance may be simply nature's hidden physics at work. But the unanswered question remains: why here, in this one place, do all these forces converge with such deadly consistency? The legend lives on. Even with modern science, the Bermuda Triangle keeps its grip on our imagination. Maybe one day, with better technology, we'll map out every hidden frequency and explain every tragic loss. Until then, the Bermuda Triangle remains what it has always been: a place where science and myth collide, where invisible waves spark visible terror,
and where the ocean whispers secrets that humanity has yet to fully understand. So next time you hear the eerie legend of the Bermuda Triangle, remember, maybe it's not aliens or lost civilizations at all. Maybe it's something even chilling. Sound itself.
The bittersweet truth. How sugar slowly destroys your body. Sweet, tempting, irresistible. Sugar feels like a small pleasure we can't live without. It's in our morning coffee, our favorite desserts, and even hidden inside foods we don't suspect. But here's the chilling question. Why does something so sweet come with such a bitter cost to our health? Let's peel back the layers of this everyday ingredient and uncover the dangerous truth about sugar. Number 1. Sugar traps you in a cycle of addiction. When you eat something sugary, your blood glucose spikes, giving you a temporary rush of energy. You feel good, sometimes even euphoric. But just a couple of hours later, that sugar high comes crashing down. The result? Fatigue, headaches, irritability, and, ironically, a craving for even more sugar. And so the cycle begins. The more you eat, the more your body demands. Scientists compare this cycle to drug addiction because sugar doesn't just satisfy you, it hooks you. Number 2, sugar fuels obesity, type 2 diabetes, and heart disease. Multiple large-scale studies have revealed a scary truth. Diets high in sugar and high glycemic foods increase your risk of obesity, type 2 diabetes, and heart disease. And it doesn't stop there. Some researchers suggest sugar consumption may also be linked to certain types of cancer. The more sugar you eat, the more stress you put on your pancreas and your cardiovascular system. Over time, these small indulgences can shorten your life. Number 3, sugar weakens your immune system. Your body's defense system is like a shield, but sugar acts like rust, weakening that shield over time. Animal studies show that high sugar intake reduces the body's ability to fight infections. In a world where strong immunity is more important than ever, sugar is quietly eroding your body's natural defenses. Number 4, sugar robs you of essential nutrients. Did you know that eating too much sugar can cause deficiencies in important minerals, especially chromium, which helps regulate blood sugar levels? Refined carbohydrates and sugary foods essentially strip chromium and other vital nutrients away from your diet. That means while sugar fills you up with empty calories, it leaves you starved of the very building blocks your body needs to thrive: vitamins A, C, B12, calcium, phosphorus, magnesium, and iron. And here's the cruel irony. The people who consume the most sugar are often children and teenagers, the very ones who need these nutrients the most to grow strong and healthy. Number 5, sugar accelerates aging. Every spoonful of sugar you eat speeds up the ticking clock of aging. How? Once inside your bloodstream, sugar molecules attach themselves to proteins, forming harmful compounds that reduce the elasticity of your tissues. Your skin becomes less supple, wrinkles appear sooner, and even your arteries stiffen with time. Put simply, sugar is aging you from the inside out. Number 6, sugar destroys your smile. Among all the dangers of sugar, the most obvious, and perhaps the most underestimated, is tooth decay. When sugar sticks to your teeth, it becomes the perfect food for harmful bacteria, leading to cavities, gum disease, and even heart problems linked to chronic oral infections. Think about it. Your sweet tooth could literally cost you your teeth. Number 7, sugar fuels stress and irritability. Ever notice how kids get hyper after too much candy, only to crash into crankiness later? That's sugar at work. Spikes in blood glucose trigger stress hormones, leaving you feeling anxious, moody, or irritable. It's not just kids, adults feel it too. That afternoon donut may cheer you up for a moment, but hours later, it leaves you drained and frustrated. The takeaway: sugar may seem harmless, but it quietly sabotages your body in countless ways, draining your energy, making you sick, stealing your nutrients, aging your skin,
and even wearing down your smile. The truth is, sugar isn't just a sweet treat. It's a slow poison. So the next time you reach for that cookie, soda, or candy bar, remember, every bite has a cost. And the sweetest choice you can make might just be...
Welcome to Sophia Science, the YouTube channel that answers all your questions about the world of science, including science mysteries, aliens. The content of today's video is
the black hole that gives birth to stars. When you think of a black hole, what comes to mind? A monstrous, invisible force devouring everything in its path? Stars, planets, even light itself? For decades, scientists have painted black holes as the ultimate cosmic destroyers, the vacuum cleaners of the universe, from which nothing can escape. But now, a shocking discovery has turned that idea upside down. According to NASA, a team of British and German scientists has found something extraordinary near the very heart of our Milky Way galaxy. Dozens of massive stars orbiting around a supermassive black hole. Yes, instead of swallowing them whole, this black hole seems to have helped create them. With the powerful gaze of NASA's Chandra X-ray Observatory, researchers from the University of Leicester in the UK and the Max Planck Institute for Physics in Germany observed a breathtaking cluster of stars shining brighter than almost anything we've seen before. These aren't ordinary stars. Each one is 30 to 50 times larger than our sun and burns with a brilliance up to 100,000 times greater. Imagine an entire constellation forged in the shadow of one of the most destructive forces in the cosmos. But how is this possible? For years, scientists believed that the extreme gravity of a black hole would rip apart clouds of gas long before they could collapse into stars. Yet, the evidence is clear. These stars were born less than 1 light year from the black hole itself, in what should have been the most hostile environment in the galaxy. The answer may lie in enormous disks of gas swirling around black holes. Instead of being immediately devoured, some of this material may orbit at a safe enough distance to clump together and ignite nuclear fusion, the very process that powers stars. In a strange twist of cosmic irony, a black hole, known as the destroyer of worlds, has become a cradle of creation. But this new nursery of stars comes with a dark fate. Unlike our sun, which burns hydrogen steadily for billions of years, these massive giants live fast and die young. They consume their fuel at an astonishing rate, and astronomers predict that within just 5 million years, nearly 80% of them will explode in violent supernovas. Their brilliant lives will end in destruction, leaving behind smaller black holes, children of both the stars and the monster that birthed them. This discovery doesn't just rewrite our understanding of black holes. It changes the way we think about the life cycle of stars and the universe itself. Perhaps, in the grand design of the cosmos, even destruction has a role to play in creation. So the next time you imagine a black hole as only a cosmic graveyard, remember this. Somewhere out there, in the very core of our galaxy, a black hole is giving birth to the brightest stars in the universe.
Welcome to Sophia Science, the YouTube channel that answers all your questions about the world of science, including science mysteries, aliens. The content of today's video is
the deadly ecosystem hiding inside your pillow. Close your eyes for a moment and picture this. You're lying in bed, sinking into your soft, comfortable pillow after a long day. It feels warm, safe, and inviting. But what if I told you that inside that very pillow is an entire ecosystem, one crawling with dangerous fungi, harmful bacteria, and tiny creatures that could silently threaten your health? Yes, your favorite pillow might be far from the safe haven you think it is. A shocking study from researchers at the University of Manchester has revealed that the average pillow is home to more than 1 million fungal spores. That's right, every single pillow you rest your head on at night could contain millions of microscopic organisms. To put it in perspective, just 1 gram of pillow material can hold several thousand spores. And that's not all. Past studies have already shown that pillows and bedding are loaded with dust mites, tiny spider-like creatures that feed on flakes of human skin. Now here's the disturbing part. These dust mites don't just live there. They feed on the fungi growing in your pillow, and in turn, the fungi thrive on the waste products left behind by the mites, using it as a source of nitrogen and nutrients. In other words, your pillow is hosting a self-sustaining microworld of dust mites, fungi, and human skin flakes, a deadly ecosystem thriving inches away from your face every night. Among the most dangerous fungi discovered in these tests is Aspergillus fumigatus. This particular fungus is notorious in the medical world because it's a leading cause of deadly infections in people with weakened immune systems, such as leukemia patients or organ transplant recipients. Even for healthy individuals, Aspergillus can worsen asthma, trigger allergic reactions, and cause serious lung problems. And here's something even more unsettling. Synthetic pillows, the cheaper alternatives to feather pillows, were found to contain even higher levels of fungi. Dr. Ashley Woodcock, who led the Manchester study, put it bluntly, "There is a whole ecosystem operating in your pillow." And he wasn't exaggerating. This isn't the first time the dangers of bedding have been exposed. Back in 2000, the U.S. National Institute of Environmental Health Sciences reported that 22 million American households were sleeping on beds with allergen levels high enough to trigger asthma attacks. Think about that. Millions of people, night after night, breathing in an invisible cocktail of spores, dust, and microscopic life forms. Jeffrey Scott, chairman of the Fungal Research Trust, which funded this research, warned that these findings are especially serious for people with lung diseases, asthma, or compromised immune systems. For those individuals, something as innocent as a pillow could become a silent killer. So what can we do to protect ourselves from this hidden nightmare? Experts recommend a few simple but powerful steps. Use protective covers on pillows and mattresses to block allergens. Wash pillowcases and bed sheets weekly in hot water to kill mites and spores. Vacuum carpets often, and if possible, steam clean them to eliminate hidden fungi and dust. Because in the end, that cozy pillow you love might not just be supporting your head, it might also be supporting an entire world of organisms that you never invited into your home. So the next time you lay your head down at night, ask yourself, do I really know what's living inside my pillow?
The essential nutrients your eyes desperately need. Close your eyes for just a moment and imagine a world where everything around you slowly fades, blurs, and loses its sharpness. For many people, especially children, this isn't just imagination, it's reality. Our eyes, though small, are among the most precious organs of the human body, and just like the heart, the brain, or the muscles, they too demand proper care, nourishment, and rest. Today, eye problems are on the rise, especially among children. Recent school eye screening programs in Vietnam's major cities revealed a striking statistic. Nearly half of middle school students suffer from refractive errors, with 48% already nearsighted. The reasons? Overloaded eyes from long hours of studying, reduced outdoor activities, and endless screen time. Books, television, smartphones, computers, and video games. But here's the good news. Alongside healthy lifestyle changes, nutrition plays a powerful role in protecting and restoring vision. Let's explore the essential nutrients your eyes simply cannot live without. Number 1. Vitamin E, the guardian against cataracts. Think of vitamin E as a shield. It slows down the progression of cataracts, those cloudy spots that block our vision as we age. Studies show that regular intake of vitamin E can reduce the risk of developing cataracts altogether. Where can you find it? In peanuts, sesame oil, eggs, tomatoes, potatoes, and asparagus. Believe it or not, just one egg can provide up to 6% of your daily vitamin E requirement. Number 2, vitamin A, the night vision vitamin. Without vitamin A, our eyes lose their natural ability to stay moist and adapt to darkness. This deficiency can lead to dry eyes, night blindness, and in severe cases, permanent vision loss. You can load up on vitamin A through foods like animal liver, whole milk, egg yolks, and cod liver oil. It's one of the most crucial vitamins to protect your sight. Number 3, vitamins B1, B2, and niacin.
The nerve protectors. Ever heard of optic nerve inflammation? One common cause is a lack of vitamin B1. Together with vitamin B2, these vitamins keep your retina and cornea functioning normally. Without them, symptoms like red eyes, constant tearing, eyelid inflammation, and even cataracts may appear. Niacin deficiency can further cause involuntary eye movements and weakened vision. The solution? Add more beans, lean meat, leafy greens, apples, corn, and green peas. Number 4, chondroitin, nature's lubricant for the eyes. Derived from shark cartilage, chondroitin is a natural component of the cornea. It helps the lens stay elastic, the cornea remain clear, and the eye adjust more easily during focus. It nourishes corneal cells, restores the protective tear film, and fights dryness, eye strain, and fatigue caused by overwork. Today, several eye supplements include chondroitin to support long-term eye health. Number 5, selenium, sharpening your vision. Selenium is a trace mineral, but its role is far from small. It helps maintain sharp visual sensitivity and has been linked to reducing the risk of nearsightedness and other degenerative eye conditions. Rich sources of selenium include fish, shrimp, clams, brown rice, garlic, onions, mushrooms, carrots, and chili peppers. Number 6, phosphorus, flexibility for the retina. Just as phosphorus strengthens bones, it also keeps the retina flexible and resilient. This mineral ensures that your retina adapts well to changing light and focus demands. You'll find phosphorus in seafood like shrimp, fish, and oysters, as well as in dairy products and seaweed. The big picture, a balanced diet for bright eyes. When we put this all together, it's clear that our vision depends not only on avoiding screens or getting enough sleep, but also on what we feed our eyes from within. A balanced diet rich in vitamins, minerals, and natural compounds is one of the most powerful ways to protect sight and prevent eye diseases. So, next time you sit down to a meal, think of your eyes. That handful of nuts, that piece of fish, that fresh green salad, each bite is more than just food. It's fuel for your vision, a gift for your future self. Because in the end, seeing the world clearly is one of life's greatest treasures. And with the right care, we can make sure our eyes continue to show us the beauty of life, bright and sharp, for years to come.
The Hobbit people of Indonesia knew evidence of a lost human species. Imagine walking deep into a limestone cave on a remote island in Indonesia. The air is cool, the light dim, and scattered across the earth are fragments of bones. Bones that tell a story so strange, it shakes the very foundation of what it means to be human. This is not the tale of Homo sapiens, but of a mysterious cousin, a tiny species, barely 1 meter tall, who lived on the island of Flores some 18,000 years ago. Scientists have given them a name, Homo floresiensis. Nicknamed the hobbits of prehistory, these small humans have baffled researchers ever since the first skeleton, known as LB1, was discovered in Liangbua Cave in 2003. At first, some scientists dismissed it. They argued this wasn't a new species at all, but rather a modern human suffering from a genetic disorder. But now, new discoveries are rewriting the story. So, more skeletons unearthed. Recently, archaeologists uncovered additional remains from at least 9 individuals. These included fragments of skulls, jaws, vertebrae, arms, legs, and even tiny finger bones. And importantly, researchers also recovered missing pieces of the original LB1 skeleton, helping to create a more complete picture of these little people. The evidence is stacking up, and it's powerful. These weren't malformed or diseased humans. This was a distinct population, a true species in its own right. A glimpse into their world. The discoveries go beyond just bones. Traces of fire-making tools and hunting activities suggest that these miniature humans were skilled survivors. Picture it. Tiny hunters, armed with stone tools, gathering around a fire in the dense jungles of Flores. Despite their small size and tiny brain, about 380 cubic centimeters, roughly 1/3 the size of ours, they lived and hunted and thrived for thousands of years. The mystery of island dwarfism. How could such tiny humans exist? Scientists believe the answer lies in a phenomenon called island dwarfism. When a species is trapped on an island with limited resources, evolution works in unusual ways. Large animals often shrink to survive on scarce food supplies, while smaller animals sometimes grow larger to fill empty ecological roles. In the case of Homo floresiensis, researchers think they may have descended from Homo erectus, an ancient human species that arrived on Flores about 800,000 years ago. Over time, isolated and under pressure, they gradually evolved into their smaller, hobbit-like form. But searching for the missing links. But the story doesn't end there. As Harvard anthropologist Daniel Lieberman points out, if the dwarfism theory is correct, then older fossils from Flores should reveal larger ancestors, somewhere between Homo erectus and Homo floresiensis. Finding those transitional remains could finally confirm how these little people came to be. So, who were the hobbits of Flores? Were they just another branch of the human family tree, cut off too soon? Or could their existence suggest that evolution played out in more diverse and surprising ways than we ever imagined? What we do know is this: Homo floresiensis was real. They walked the earth alongside early modern humans, and their discovery has forced us to rethink the story of human evolution, not as a straight line, but as a rich and branching tree filled with forgotten cousins. The caves of Flores still hold secrets, and with each discovery, we get one step closer to solving the riddle of these tiny little people, tiny in size, but monumental in their impact on our understanding of who we are.
The HPV vaccine, a breakthrough in the fight against cervical cancer. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this. Every single year, thousands of women lose their lives to a silent but deadly disease, cervical cancer. It often strikes without warning, slowly developing in the background until it is too late. Globally, it is one of the leading causes of cancer-related deaths in women. But today, science has given us hope. A powerful new tool has emerged that has the potential to change the future of women's health forever: the HPV vaccine. A global threat. In Europe alone, around 15,000 women die each year from cervical cancer. Worldwide, the numbers are even staggering. And yet, what makes this tragedy even more painful is that cervical cancer is often preventable if caught early, or, better yet, stopped before it ever begins. So how do we stop it? By targeting the root cause, the virus behind the disease. Most cases of cervical cancer are caused by a virus known as human papillomavirus, or HPV. It is one of the most common sexually transmitted infections in the world. And while there are many different strains of HPV, just two of them, HPV 16 and HPV 18, are responsible for about 70% of all cervical cancer cases. And here's where science steps in with an incredible breakthrough: the arrival of Gardasil. A new vaccine called Gardasil, developed by pharmaceutical company Merck, has shown astonishing results in clinical trials. Over a 2-year study involving 12,167 women aged 16 to 23 across 13 countries, Gardasil proved to be 100% effective at protecting against the HPV strains most commonly linked to cervical cancer. But that's not all. Gardasil
also protects against HPV-6 and HPV-11, strains that don't cause cancer but are responsible for painful and distressing genital warts. This means that Gardasil is not only a cancer prevention vaccine, but also a way to protect sexual health and overall quality of life. The vaccine war: Gardasil versus Cervarix. Merck isn't alone in this battle. Another pharmaceutical company, GlaxoSmithKline, is also developing its own HPV vaccine, called Cervarix. Both vaccines are racing towards the same goal: to stop cervical cancer before it even has a chance to begin. And the results so far are nothing short of groundbreaking. For the first time in history, we are looking at a world where cervical cancer could be dramatically reduced, maybe even eliminated. Why this matters. The power of Gardasil and vaccines like it lies not only in protecting individuals, but in protecting entire generations of women. If widely distributed, these vaccines could save millions of lives. They could prevent the suffering of countless families, and they could transform cervical cancer from one of the deadliest cancers into a disease of the past. But awareness is key. Too many women still don't know about HPV, how it spreads, or that vaccines even exist to stop it. So here's the truth. Cervical cancer does not need to be a death sentence. With early detection and the protection of vaccines like Gardasil, survival rates can soar and prevention can become the new normal. We are standing on the edge of a medical revolution, one where young women today and generations to come may grow up in a world where cervical cancer is no longer a constant threat. Science has given us the weapon. Now it's up to us to use it. The HPV vaccine is more than just medicine. It's a promise of a safer, healthier future for women everywhere. Don't let silence or stigma stand in the way. Awareness saves lives. Vaccines save lives.
The mysterious sixth sense of animals. Can they predict natural disasters? Have you ever wondered if animals can sense danger long before humans ever realize it's coming? Time and again, when nature unleashes its fury, earthquakes, tsunamis, hurricanes, humans are caught off guard. But animals? Many of them seem to know and act before disaster strikes. Nature's fury and humanity's fragility. Recent catastrophes, devastating earthquakes in the Atlantic, the monstrous tsunami of December 2004, and Hurricane Katrina have reminded us of just how fragile human life is in the face of nature's power. Thousands, even hundreds of thousands of lives lost in mere moments. And yet, amidst this chaos, many animals seemed to escape unharmed. How? Did they know something we didn't? The strange behavior before disasters. When the 2004 Indian Ocean tsunami struck, it left nearly 290,000 people dead across Asia and Africa. But countless wild animals survived. Elephants broke free from their chains and ran inland. Flamingos abandoned low-lying nesting grounds and flew to higher altitudes. Deer and antelope sprinted away from the beaches hours before the deadly waves arrived. Even zookeepers in Malaysia were puzzled. Animals that were usually eager to feed refused to come out of hiding. Hours later, the tsunami hit. The people never saw it coming, but the animals did. Ancient knowledge of animal warnings. This isn't new. Humans have observed such phenomena for thousands of years. Archaeological records from around 2000 BC reveal that people once relied on animal behavior as an early warning system. On the island of Crete, ferrets vanished from their burrows right before a powerful earthquake. Fast forward to 1975 in China. During the winter, snakes suddenly disappeared into deep hibernation. Local authorities found this highly unusual and took it as a warning. They evacuated thousands of people.
Shortly after, a 7.3 magnitude earthquake shook the region, destroying buildings, but sparing countless lives. Sometimes animal instincts succeed where human technology fails. Not just nature's disasters. Animals have also shown uncanny awareness of man-made dangers. During World War II, residents in London noticed their cats and dogs acting strangely, whining, hiding, or becoming restless just before German air raids. It was as if their senses detected the approaching destruction before any siren went off. More mysterious examples. In southern India, a lighthouse worker noticed antelope migrating inland hours before the tsunami hit. In Thailand's Phuket resort, elephants screamed, broke their chains, and fled uphill, saving tourists in the process. In Sri Lanka, though 30,000 people died, most large animals, elephants, goats, wild deer, remained safe. Even wild boars survived. At an aquarium in Florida, 14 sharks suddenly swam away from their usual grounds 12 hours before Hurricane Charlie made landfall. For years, they had never strayed more than a kilometer from their territory, but somehow they knew. So, what exactly are these animals sensing? Scientists believe it's a combination of heightened awareness and biological sensitivity. Animals can detect subtle changes in atmospheric pressure. They may sense seismic vibrations long before humans feel them. Some may pick up on low-frequency sounds generated by shifting tectonic plates or crashing waves far offshore. Wild animals, especially, still retain these primal instincts. Domesticated animals, those that live too closely with humans, often lose some of these abilities over generations. Did humans once have this power? Here's the most intriguing thought. Some scientists suggest that early humans may have once shared this ability. Over thousands of years, as we built cities and relied on technology, we may have lost our natural sensitivity to Earth's warnings. And yet, even today, there are whispers of this instinct lingering within us. Some people claim to feel joint pain, dizziness, or headaches just before earthquakes or landslides. Others experience fevers or nosebleeds without clear cause, only to later discover a natural disaster had struck nearby. Children and highly sensitive individuals often show uncanny intuition about approaching danger. So, can animals truly predict natural disasters? Science is still searching for definitive answers, but the evidence, ancient and modern, suggests that animals have a sixth sense we can no longer fully understand. Maybe the real lesson is not whether we can learn this ability ourselves, but whether we can learn to listen. Because in a world where disasters can strike without warning, the cries of an elephant, the flight of a flamingo, or the silence of a snake may hold the key to survival. Because sometimes the most reliable warning system isn't man-made. It's already alive, watching and listening, hidden in the instincts of the animal kingdom.
The mystery of the AIDS epidemic. Where did it really come from? Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this. It's the late 20th century. Around the world, whispers turn into headlines. A mysterious disease is spreading, leaving fear, death, and stigma in its wake. Doctors call it AIDS, a disease unlike any the world had ever seen before. It weakens the body's very defense system, leaving even the smallest infection deadly. By September 30th, 1991, the World Health Organization had reported that 163 countries and territories had already detected AIDS cases. Officially, there were around 410,000 patients. But WHO experts suspected the real number was closer to 1.1 million people worldwide, and predicted that, by the end of the 20th century, that number could explode to 40 million. Here in Vietnam, by 2005, about 260,000 people were living with HIV/AIDS.
Just in the first 6 months of that year, the country recorded 6,704 new HIV infections, 1,377 new AIDS cases, and 670 deaths. Clearly, AIDS was not just a disease. It was becoming a global crisis, a modern plague. And yet, one haunting question still lingers. Where did it really come from? Historian Hoblaina Mandishe, AIDS, Airs Histur Jobinama Wastaim Dilling, O Tedious Keenwo, MDN Apicab West Walnse, His Heo Jepas SITX, Hel Goan Salda Galantim, Keza Nenakai, Hel Keda Nama We Ningoan Narok and on Gaiwin, Python B dollar, Was Jamsana By Wayne dollar, Hanakai Jamasis, Sadie Fesis, Ain D Jamakain in Mu, Aim Janakai, I Ain D Das, Ain D Daskadi Mai, Ain D Daska Ni Basikani Mary, Ahaiba, Ain D Jana Dustus, Vada Timokal, Ain D Gerzinas Wanstein, Ain D Bad and Zafedi, Yoa Nakai O Jail Junior Like kind of fee, Howan Jag, who are thee thok Teima, his Hethur Dan Numdias, Hers Chona, Ain Dees, Hes Demadina, Ain Dees Itchy Justice, Doje Justai, more base like an Izer, Hain Dees Herd, Ain D Hose Janet, Heine's Ender, Ain Dees Etza Duff. Yo was that, Ain D Duffs Pribed, Ain D Hayer Wunham, Ain D Feasers Highbaff, Yig Make Salmon Dykitch, Ain D's Hillness, Ristville Ludsearchai Neva Fud Dia Ho Rockana Pina, AD Fighting, who are they Fakiavo Harrisbells for Feesum, Ray Wellum Ho Ain D's Vonus Demean, Sugas IDs to more date Dinin, O and Dashtas when Holmes Coning D's A, in Pempelvaction, Az, O est when hers Gafikai Daynat Ain Handriad Apsis Wicker, O Ain Hanch Ans Keys, Amabia BT Mauavana, Ain Bado Havi, his taildin B-time gummin games ani bad ani, Aindels O est mihant Yo dominant, Helcanis, Dojidum, Ain Des est when on they them mean shoddy, Demakai O est, what does mide days birdi, O Ain Des Kiedas, does dohem on your spottas, Ain Dasgis, Ain Dace, hers Elam spet mamki, Amam Ainders anan decades, Herism Astradan, Ain D Bedimus me was es dinden amadi birdias and bod. Hers den and fegist elan est angi avosar, hiaba ming, has games aski hesbatted. Helkadi bis salmon beda, mine dees kis donkey defa. Hel can no warama name her bomania, has isadi, o was I bad helkin kafi, body dosis, and est wind I'm shoddy, o ain dees cape kita, yo janden, ain dees danans be, ainders dees, nabi nuam him being, ain main, tidi sadis ha, ain dees coswin hers betty is in bod, danner heis lamba gematine, ain dees de das sign biar shine, est on the des dami, ain de canyon his hautas, ain days go at ho asabi arndum, ain days jas samidum, domingders, ain days go in histab gain des. O ain days asked when hein, o ain days cairn in the war, hel cani hein. Hers astoris almadim divenham, elmhafal bata es canis, halnim I hers when some can now dice gain bandi, and shamed hyam fall, o mad batty dot, ain nosers colacus, ain lombardier o amal, o est when, ain di fisamen mes betty toin sabat, o kazandai das pemis ani, ain di kiden, o est when, ain di cani amo fuckus scan red, ain di, o est when am fur, o dis kafa. Aindies o it bandy join B, MSM Dane Orsho Bandagon, Aindies ders, D lay baho. Her was bet away bedtime games, Aindies bet, Aindies, has lay bade, Aindi od bunus host her has done her wow.
Hair bunnies bat o dairies how the games, Andes bindades LD and Andes o neater ezampam, Andes dafis d, o Andes when, o Andes diasto washane, o Andes einer his canams eng, Andes einer.
The secret healing powers of sesame seeds, nature's ancient medicine. Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine something so small, so simple, so ordinary, yet so powerful that for thousands of years it has been treasured as both food and medicine. That tiny miracle is the sesame seed. Sesame, also known as chima in Chinese medicine, or huma when traced back to its ancient Indian origins, is far more than just a garnish sprinkled on your favorite bread or sushi roll. For centuries, cultures across Asia have considered sesame, especially the black variety, a symbol of vitality, longevity, and healing. But what makes these tiny seeds so extraordinary? Let's dive into the incredible world of sesame and uncover its secret healing powers. Number 1. More than just a seed. According to the ancient Chinese medical text, Bengkao Ganmu, sesame seeds nourish the 5 vital organs, strengthen the body, and when combined with honey, can even treat a wide range of ailments. In Vietnamese traditional medicine, they are described as sweet, cooling, non-toxic, soothing for the intestines, detoxifying, and even aiding difficult childbirth. There are 2 main types: white sesame seeds, widely used in cooking; black sesame seeds, packed with stronger medicinal properties, believed to replenish blood, strengthen bones, improve eyesight, and even enhance intelligence. Number 2. Sesame for everyday health. Eating sesame seeds regularly can help in countless ways. First, relieving constipation. Sesame's natural oils soften the stool, stimulate the intestines, and make digestion smooth. Second, protecting the heart. By helping regulate cholesterol, sesame lowers the risk of cardiovascular disease. Third, fighting obesity. Its slow-release nutrients keep you full longer, preventing excessive fat storage. And fourth, boosting energy and vitality, strengthening tendons, nourishing the brain, and even improving hair and skin. Even the leaves of the sesame plant are powerful. Boiled into a tonic, they support brain function, strengthen bones, and keep skin fresh and youthful. A simple sesame leaf wash can even make hair darker and shinier. Number 3. Sesame as medicine. Ancient remedies. Traditional healers have recorded hundreds of sesame-based cures. Here are just some of the most fascinating ones. For nausea and vomiting, crush sesame seeds, add water, and drink with a little salt. For burns, apply black sesame paste or sesame oil directly to the wound to reduce pain and speed healing. For constipation, drink a small cup of sesame oil or simply eat a handful of seeds daily. For insect bites or centipede stings, chew sesame seeds and apply to the wound for quick relief. For hair loss, roast sesame seeds, grind into powder, mix with sugar, and consume daily to restore thick and black hair. For mothers breastfeeding, roasted black sesame mixed with sticky rice boosts milk production. For children's fever, mix sesame oil with onion juice and apply to the body to reduce heat. For dental pain, boil sesame seeds, use the decoction to rinse the mouth, and the pain will fade. And perhaps the most astonishing, ancient texts even describe sesame remedies for serious conditions like jaundice, chronic ulcers, and dangerous infections. Number 4. A legacy of healing. From India to China, from ancient texts to modern herbalists, sesame has always been more than just food. It has been medicine, protection, and nourishment for body and soul. Even today, in natural healing traditions, sesame oil is used in Ayurvedic massage, detox rituals, and skin therapies. So the next time you sprinkle a pinch of sesame on your meal, remember, you're not just adding flavor. You're connecting to thousands of years of wisdom, tapping into one of nature's tiniest yet most powerful gifts. Conclusion. Sesame seeds may be small, but their healing power is immense. Whether eaten, pressed into oil, or used in ancient remedies, they remain one of the greatest treasures of natural medicine. So, are sesame seeds just food, or could they be nature's ancient cure hiding in plain sight?
The silent killer from the sky. The truth about acid rain. The main content in this video includes acid rain, not ordinary rain, but a silent killer falling from the sky, formed when industrial smoke and vehicle emissions mix with clouds, creating sulfuric and nitric acid. Doesn't just fall where it's produced, winds can carry it hundreds of kilometers away. Corrodes stones, damages buildings, and erodes historic monuments. Destroys aquatic life in lakes and rivers. Depletes soil and forests. Dangerous because it's invisible. You can't tell the difference with your eyes. The big question: if we don't control pollution now, could acid rain become a global disaster? Now let's get started. Where does acid rain happen? Imagine this. You're walking under a gentle rainfall. Cool drops land softly on your hair, your shoulders, your hands. You tilt your face up to the sky, thinking rain is the purest gift of nature. But what if I told you those same drops could be acid? Invisible, tasteless, silent, yet powerful enough to destroy everything they touch. The truth is, every raindrop already contains a tiny bit of acid. Water vapor in the sky mixes with carbon dioxide, forming a weak carbonic acid. Harmless to us, yes, but strong enough to slowly dissolve limestone, reshape mountains, carve caves, and erode ancient monuments over thousands of years. But in some parts of the world, especially the industrial regions of Europe and North America, rain is no longer weak and harmless. It turns into a deadly weapon of nature. Acid rain. The reason comes from us, humans. Smoke from factories, exhaust from cars, burning fuels, all of it pours toxic gases into the atmosphere. These gases, sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides, rise, drift, and mix with moisture in the air. And when they return to Earth, they don't come back as gentle rain. They fall as acid, sulfuric and nitric acid, strong enough to scar the land. The danger doesn't stop there. Strong winds can carry these gases hundreds, even thousands of kilometers away. That means a lush forest far from any city or factory could still be poisoned by acid rain that formed in another country. And the damage? It's devastating. Great monuments, stone buildings, ancient cathedrals, eaten away, fading and cracking under the invisible hand of acid. Lakes and rivers slowly turning too acidic for fish, frogs, and other life to survive. Entire ecosystems collapsing. Forests, once green and full of life, now withering. Leaves scorched, soil poisoned, the balance of nature broken. The scariest part? You can't see acid rain when it falls. It looks just like any other rain. By the time the damage becomes clear, it's already too late. Acid rain is both familiar and strange. It reminds us that nature always answers back to what we do. So the question is, will we keep polluting the skies until the purest symbol of life, the rain itself,
turns against us? Or will we change and give the sky back its purity?
The stone statues of Rapa Nui. Rapa Nui, an island belonging to Chile, is one of the loneliest places on Earth. It lies in the vast South Pacific Ocean, about 3,700 kilometers from the coast of South America, and over 1,000 kilometers from the nearest inhabited island. When explorers first discovered this island, they found two remarkable things: the native Polynesian inhabitants, who still lived in a primitive way, and the colossal stone statues, works of a civilization of astonishing sophistication. The current inhabitants of the island neither possess the skills to sculpt stone with such artistry, nor the seafaring knowledge required to travel thousands of kilometers across the ocean. So the questions arise: who carved these statues? For whom were they made? And for what purpose? These mysteries have long shrouded the island in enigma. The recorded history of Rapa Nui is relatively short. In 1722, the Dutch became the first Europeans to set foot on the island. They arrived on April 5th, which happened to be Easter Sunday, and so they named it Easter Island. The name Rapa Nui, meaning the Island of Stone Statues, was given by the islanders themselves. Later, Spanish and other European explorers also visited the island. What fascinated them most was not only that people were living on such a remote, isolated piece of land, but that the island was dotted with hundreds of giant statues. These stone figures, called moai by the locals, are instantly recognizable: elongated faces, slightly upturned noses, thin pursed lips, broad foreheads tilted upward, and long earlobes hanging down. Their torsos often bear carvings of birds in flight, with arms hanging straight down along the body. This distinctive style makes them immediately identifiable. Some of the statues wear large, cylindrical stone hats, called pukao by the islanders. From a distance, these resemble reddish crowns, lending the figures an air of nobility and authority. Out of the roughly 600 statues on the island, only about 30 were given such headpieces. They were placed across different parts of the island, 15 along the southeastern shore, 10 in the north, and 6 in the west. These statues with red crowns seem to stand out like noblemen among commoners. The moai have become symbols of this remote island, admired by travelers and researchers alike. Yet their purpose remains unknown. How could the island's primitive inhabitants, with only rudimentary tools, create such monumental works of art? When asked about the origin of the statues, the present-day islanders simply respond that they do not know. They themselves had no part in their creation. The moai are remarkably consistent in style. Human-like figures, with long, narrow faces and vacant expressions, all carved according to a uniform model. Their unique style indicates that they were the product of the island itself, not outside influence. However, some scholars have noted similarities between the moai and stone statues found in the ancient ruins of the indigenous cultures of Mexico, such as the Maya and other pre-Columbian peoples. Could there have been contact between these distant cultures? It seems unlikely given the vast distance separating Mexico and Rapa Nui. The statues themselves pose staggering questions. Even the smaller ones weigh around 2.5 tons, while the largest can weigh up to 50 tons. Their crowns alone are massive blocks of stone weighing several tons. How were these stones quarried, transported across the island, and erected upright? To make matters more puzzling, the islanders had no knowledge of iron tools. Archaeologists have traced the source of the moai to the Rano Raraku volcano. The quarry there still bears witness to an enormous unfinished project. Tens of thousands of cubic meters of rock were cut out, leaving behind piles of debris. Scattered across the site are incomplete statues at various stages of carving, including one that is still attached to the bedrock. Its face is finished, but the back of the head remains fused to the mountain, as if the workers suddenly abandoned it. The entire quarry looks as if time itself froze in an instant. Tools were dropped, fragments left scattered, and statues abandoned mid-creation. What catastrophe could have caused such an abrupt halt? Was it a volcanic eruption? Geologists say no. The volcanoes of Rapa Nui had long been extinct before humans ever arrived. Was it a violent storm? The islanders were accustomed to the ocean's tempests, and such events would not have permanently halted their work. Something else must have happened. But what? The sheer scale of the Moai project suggests that at least 5,000 strong laborers would have been needed to complete it. Experimental archaeology has shown that even carving a medium-sized statue would take a team of 10 workers over a year. The most plausible method of transport would have been wooden rollers, but explorers who first arrived on the island reported that there were no trees large enough for such a task. Without timber, how could they have moved these massive stones? And what about food? How could a small, primitive population, just a few hundred people at the time, sustain thousands of laborers? The island's limited resources would have made this impossible. Some suggest that religious forces compelled the islanders to undertake this immense project. Yet evidence shows that the islanders had no formal religion until the 19th century, when Catholic missionaries introduced Christianity. Even today, the mystery endures. Why were these giant statues carved? Why did work at the quarry stop so suddenly? The writer and expedition leader from the British Museum, Catherine Routledge, captured the enigma perfectly in her memoir. The atmosphere of the island gave us the impression that once there had been something vast here, an immense plan, now vanished. But what was it? And for what?
The world's oldest noodles unearthed in China, a 4,000-year-old culinary mystery. Imagine lifting the lid of an ancient clay pot buried for thousands of years and finding noodles. Yes, noodles. Long, golden strands perfectly preserved in silence beneath the earth. This is not the beginning of a myth or a legend. This is a discovery that has changed what we know about the origins of one of humanity's most beloved foods. A 4,000-year-old meal. Archaeologists working at Lajia, an ancient settlement on the banks of China's Yellow River, stumbled upon something extraordinary. Inside a sealed clay bowl, hidden beneath layers of fine silt, lay noodles, some measuring an astonishing 50 centimeters long. Carbon dating confirmed their age, 4,000 years old. This makes them the oldest noodles ever discovered in human history. Not wheat, but grass seeds. Here's where the mystery deepens. These ancient noodles were not made from wheat, like the pasta we know today. Instead, scientists found that they were crafted from two humble grains, foxtail millet, Citeria italica, and broomcorn millet, Panicum miliaceum. The team studied the starch grains under microscopes and compared their structure to modern crops. The evidence was clear. The world's first noodles came not from wheat, not from rice, but from millet, a hardy grain grown in northern China. Professor Ho-Yan Liu, who led the study, explained, before this discovery, the earliest written record of noodles appeared during the Han Dynasty, between 25 and 220 AD. But this find pushes the story back thousands of years, ending the debate over who invented noodles first, the Chinese, the Italians, or the Arabs. The Pompeii of China. But how did these noodles survive for so long? The answer lies in tragedy.
The settlement of Lhasa was suddenly destroyed by a devastating natural disaster. Geological evidence shows that a powerful earthquake struck the region, triggering massive floods from the Yellow River. Entire families were trapped, their skeletons preserved in desperate poses, frozen in their last attempts to escape. This catastrophic event buried homes, tools, and food under layers of fine silt, sealing them away for millennia, much like the volcanic ash of Pompeii in Italy. It was within this destruction that the ancient pot of noodles was found, untouched, until modern archaeologists carefully lifted its lid. Resembling lam yen. Interestingly, the noodles looked strikingly similar to lam yen, the traditional hand-pulled noodles of China that are still made today. Imagine the hands of an ancient cook stretching and twisting dough, creating a dish that would live on for 4 millennia. This discovery doesn't just tell us about food, it tells us about survival, ingenuity, and culture. Even in times of hardship, people crafted meals that brought comfort, meals that would eventually become global icons. The origins of a global food. Today, noodles are eaten everywhere, from Italian pasta to Japanese ramen to Vietnamese pho. But their story may have started right here, 4,000 years ago, in the floodplains of the Yellow River. What's more poetic than this? That one of humanity's simplest joys, sharing a bowl of noodles, connects us across continents, cultures, and millennia. So the next time you slurp your favorite noodles, remember, you're not just enjoying a meal, you're tasting history.
When men grow breasts, the truth about male gynecomastia. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine this. You're looking in the mirror one day and suddenly you notice something strange. Your chest looks different, not muscular, not just fatty, but almost feminine. For many men, this discovery can be shocking, confusing, and even deeply embarrassing. This condition has a name, gynecomastia, and it's far more common than most people think. Number 1. What exactly is male gynecomastia? Here's the truth. Men, just like women, have small amounts of breast tissue hidden under the skin. Normally, these glands remain inactive, dormant, like seeds that never sprout. But under certain conditions, they can begin to grow, leading to an enlarged, breast-like chest. It's important to understand, this isn't about building muscle at the gym or simply gaining weight. This is a hormonal issue, and it can affect a man's body image, confidence, and even his relationships. Number 2. Warning signs you shouldn't ignore. Doctors recommend paying attention to unusual changes in the chest, such as a swollen lump or firm area under the nipple, sometimes 3 to 5 centimeters wide, a puffiness or swelling covered by thin layers of tissue. In rare cases, fluid or discharge coming from the nipple that looks pinkish or blood-tinged. While male breast cancer is extremely rare, affecting only about 0.2% of men, these symptoms should never be ignored. At the very least, gynecomastia can cause physical discomfort and, perhaps even more importantly, psychological stress. Number 3. The hormonal balancing act. So, what actually causes this? Inside every man's body, there is a delicate balance between androgens, the male hormones like testosterone, and estrogens, the female hormones. In healthy men, testosterone dominates, but when this balance shifts, whether due to puberty, aging, certain medications, or underlying health conditions, estrogen levels can tip the scale. And when that happens, the breast tissue begins to grow. Sometimes both sides enlarge. Other times, one side is noticeably bigger than the other, making the condition even more noticeable and distressing. Number 4.
Gynecomastia versus muscular chests. Now let's make one thing clear. This is not the same as a muscular chest from bodybuilding or heavy sports. When athletes build their chest, the size comes from muscle growth and an even distribution of reduced fat. The skin stretches evenly, and the body looks proportional. With gynecomastia, however, the swelling happens only in the breast tissue, leading to an uneven, rounded, and sometimes very feminine appearance. And for many men, this leads to feelings of shame, avoidance of swimming pools, or even wearing t-shirts at all times. Number 5. Treatment options. So, can it be fixed? The answer is yes. Medication. If the breast enlargement is mild and caused by a hormone imbalance, doctors may prescribe hormone therapy to restore balance. While this can stop the progression, it rarely shrinks the breast tissue significantly. Surgery. In cases where the swelling is more severe, say lumps larger than 3 centimeters, surgery may be the best option. A small operation can remove the excess tissue, restore a natural chest shape, and even allow doctors to confirm the underlying cause. However, doctors generally recommend avoiding surgery for boys under 16, since hormone levels may naturally rebalance as they age. Number 6. The psychological impact. Beyond the physical aspect, gynecomastia can take a heavy toll on mental health. Men may feel less masculine, less attractive, or even isolated. But here's the truth. Having gynecomastia does not make you less of a man. It is a medical condition, not a personal flaw, and with the right diagnosis and treatment, it can be managed and your confidence can be restored. Number 7. Final thoughts. Male gynecomastia may not be life-threatening, but it is life-changing. It challenges not just the body, but the mind. The key is awareness. If you or someone you know notices unusual changes in the chest area, don't ignore it. Seek medical advice. Sometimes it's just a temporary hormonal imbalance. Other times it requires treatment. But one thing is certain. Silence only makes it worse. Knowledge, awareness, and action are the first steps toward reclaiming both your health and your confidence. So remember, when men grow breasts, it's not just about the chest. It's about hormones, health, and self-esteem. And most importantly, it's a condition that can be treated. Don't let embarrassment hold you back. Your health is worth more. Why Asia experiences so many powerful earthquakes? Earthquakes are among the most devastating forces of nature. Sudden, violent, and often impossible to predict with precision. Recently, the world witnessed another tragedy. A powerful 7.6 magnitude earthquake struck near Islamabad, Pakistan. Its epicenter just 95 kilometers northeast of the city. The quake devastated entire regions across Pakistan, Afghanistan, and India, leaving tens of thousands dead or missing. But this raises an important question. Why does Asia, more than almost any other continent, experience such frequent and destructive earthquakes? The collision of giants. The answer lies deep beneath our feet in the restless movements of the Earth's crust. Imagine 2 colossal slabs of the planet colliding with unstoppable force. This is exactly what happens in Asia. The earthquake near Islamabad occurred along one of the world's most powerful geological boundaries, the collision zone where the Indian-Australian plate crashes into the Eurasian plate. This collision doesn't just create earthquakes, it is also responsible for raising some of the tallest mountains on Earth, including the mighty Himalayas, the Karakoram Range, and the rugged Hindu Kush. The Himalayas, standing over 29,000 feet tall, are a living monument to the slow-motion crash of continents. But the same process that builds mountains also stores enormous stress underground. When that stress is suddenly released, the ground shakes violently, sometimes with catastrophic results. The layers beneath the Earth. To understand earthquakes better, let's take a quick look inside our planet. The Earth is not a solid rock. Beneath the surface, it is divided into layers. The outer shell, called the crust, averages about 40 kilometers thick. Below that lies the upper mantle, stretching down to about 900 kilometers. The crust and the rigid part of the upper mantle form the lithosphere, a giant jigsaw puzzle broken into pieces we call tectonic plates. Beneath it lies the asthenosphere, a softer, semi-fluid layer. The plates float and drift on this layer, slowly but relentlessly moving in different directions. Where plates meet, incredible things happen. Mountains rise, volcanoes erupt, and earthquakes strike. Asia, the crossroads of plates. South Asia and Southeast Asia sit on one of the most dangerous crossroads of tectonic plates. Here, three massive plates, the Eurasian plate, the Indian-Australian plate, and the Pacific plate, all converge. Two main boundaries dominate this region. Collision zones, continental collisions, where plates crash into one another, crumpling the Earth's crust into towering mountains, and subduction zones, where one plate is forced beneath another, building extreme pressure until it is unleashed in the form of earthquakes, tsunamis, and volcanic eruptions. That's why countries like Iran, Turkey, Indonesia, Pakistan, Nepal, and Japan so often suffer devastating quakes. The grinding and crashing of these plates never stop, and as measurements show, the movement is not slowing down. In fact, the pressure is only building. Different earthquake zones in Asia. Interestingly, scientists have found that not all earthquake zones in Asia are equal in strength. For example, the Hindu Kush region in Southwest Asia seems to produce stronger, deeper earthquakes than the Himalayas to the east. This doesn't mean the Himalayas are safe, far from it, but it highlights the complexity of Earth's underground movements. Every region has its own geological personality, shaped by how the plates interact. What about Vietnam? You may be wondering, what about Vietnam? Are we at risk of devastating earthquakes? Fortunately, Vietnam is located at a safer distance from these violent collision and subduction zones. While earthquakes do occur here, they are generally weaker, with epicenters usually at depths of 18 to 30 kilometers, much shallower than the massive quakes of the Himalayas or Indonesia. Vietnam has recorded a long list of minor earthquakes throughout history. But according to current scientific data, there is no evidence that the country will face catastrophic quakes or tsunamis like those seen in South Asia. The reality we must face. Still, Asia as a whole is one of the most earthquake-prone regions on Earth. The slow-motion collision of tectonic plates ensures that powerful quakes will continue, whether in Pakistan, Nepal, Indonesia, or Japan. These are not isolated events. They are part of a larger story written into the very bones of our planet.
Why clear winter nights feel colder than cloudy ones? Have you ever stepped outside on a winter evening and noticed something strange? On nights when the sky is perfectly clear, the air feels sharper, colder, and somehow cuts right through you. But on cloudy nights, even in the middle of winter, the cold doesn't seem quite as harsh. Why is that? This fascinating difference actually comes down to two main reasons, both tied to the invisible dance of heat between the Earth and the atmosphere. 1. The blanket effect of clouds. During the day, the Earth absorbs heat from the sun. At night, that stored warmth naturally tries to escape back into space. When the sky is clear, there's nothing to stop it, so the ground loses heat rapidly, and the air temperature drops dramatically. But when clouds are present, it's like the Earth pulls a giant blanket over itself. The clouds act as insulation, trapping much of that heat and bouncing it back down toward the surface. As a result, the ground and the air stay warmer than they would under a crystal clear sky. That's why winter nights with heavy clouds can actually feel milder than those starry, cloudless nights we often find so beautiful. 2. The role of air masses. There's another factor at play too. Clear skies in winter often signal the arrival of dry, cold air masses sweeping in from the north. These bring that bone-chilling, crisp kind of cold we associate with freezing nights. Meanwhile, cloudy skies are usually tied to air masses coming in from the oceans, warmer, wetter air that carries moisture. Even though the sky looks gloomy, the temperature often stays several degrees higher compared to a clear night. So the next time you walk outside in winter, look up. If you see a sky full of stars with no clouds in sight, brace yourself. It's going to be colder than you think. And if it's cloudy, you might just be a little warmer, thanks to nature's invisible blanket. This small but fascinating detail reminds us how closely we are connected to the rhythms of the sky above us. Something as simple as a few drifting clouds can change the way we feel the night air on our skin.
Women's health and menstrual disorders, what every woman should know. Ladies, let's talk about something that touches nearly every woman's life: menstruation. For most women, periods follow a natural rhythm, arriving regularly each month. But sometimes that rhythm changes. The cycle might come too early, too late, or with unusual discomfort. When this happens, it's not something to ignore. Of course, during the first year or two after a girl's first period, or in the years approaching menopause, irregular cycles can be completely normal. But outside of these natural transitions, changes in your menstrual cycle can be signals, clues that your body is trying to tell you something. The color of your flow, a window into your health. Most normal periods are dark red. But if your blood is unusually bright red, coffee-colored, yellowish, or even black, that could point to underlying issues. Traditional Eastern medicine often explains this as imbalances in the body, too much heat, too much cold, or weakness in your energy flow. Symptoms might include shortness of breath, weakness, fatigue, or sluggish movement. The good news is, many of these issues can be improved with rest, nutrition, and hygiene. When the flow is too much or too little, both extremes can be problematic. Heavy bleeding, more than 100 milliliters a day, or periods lasting longer than a week, may happen when the uterine lining sheds irregularly. It can also be linked to fibroids, liver dysfunction, blood disorders, or even emotional stress. Stress, grief, overwork, or exposure to cold can also disrupt the cycle. Amenorrhea is normal during pregnancy and breastfeeding, but outside of that, it's worth paying attention to. The quality of menstrual blood. Normal menstrual blood is slightly sticky, not overly thick, and may contain small tissue fragments. But if the flow is watery, full of large clots, or unusually thick, Eastern medicine often interprets this as blood stagnation, a condition where circulation is blocked. Symptoms that shouldn't be ignored. While many women experience only mild discomfort during their period, some symptoms signal deeper health issues. First, breast pain or lumps. Some young women feel swelling, pain, or even lumps in one or both breasts before or during their period. This may be due to hormonal imbalances, too much estrogen, too little progesterone. Headaches and migraines. Menstrual migraines often strike one side of the head, accompanied by nausea, blurred vision, or even visual hallucinations. These headaches are closely tied to hormonal fluctuations. Painful periods, or dysmenorrhea. First, primary dysmenorrhea. Common in young women with no underlying reproductive illness. The pain fades once the period ends. Secondary dysmenorrhea, caused by conditions like endometriosis, pelvic inflammation, or uterine fibroids. These cases require medical treatment. Premenstrual syndrome, also known as PMS. Irritability, mood swings, headaches, insomnia, and breast tenderness are all classic signs. PMS is linked to nervous system imbalances and hormonal fluctuations. While it usually eases once the period begins, proper self-care can reduce the symptoms. Nose bleeding during menstruation. Yes, it happens. Some women experience nose bleeding during their period. This unusual symptom may be caused by disrupted biological rhythms or chronic conditions like hypertension, liver disease, or even tuberculosis. Caring for women's health. The menstrual cycle is not just about reproduction. It's a monthly report card of a woman's health. Paying attention to changes in timing, flow, color, and symptoms can provide early warning signs of deeper issues. Good hygiene, balanced nutrition, rest, stress management, and timely medical checkups are essential. Remember, your cycle is your body's way of speaking to you. Listening to it is one of the most important steps in protecting your health. So, the next time your period arrives, don't just mark it on the calendar. Pay attention, listen closely, and let your body guide you.
Welcome to Sophia Science, the YouTube channel that answers all your questions about the world of science, including science mysteries, aliens. The content of today's video is
The secret sex life of pandas. Why scientists are spying on them. The main content in this video includes pandas are endangered, partly due to low sexual drive. Scientists launched a $660,000 project to track their mating behavior using GPS and surveillance in China's Phoping Reserve. Past tricks failed. Panda Viagra, panda porn, only 1,600 left in the wild. Survival hangs in the balance. Now let's get started. A shocking secret. Imagine this. A creature so beloved, so iconic, so impossibly cute, yet hiding a secret that could erase it from the earth forever. Deep in the bamboo forests of China, the giant panda, a national treasure, a global symbol of peace, faces an unexpected enemy. Not poachers, not deforestation, but something far stranger. A complete lack of interest in sex. And that simple truth may be the very reason this species teeters on the edge of extinction. Number 2. The scientist's dilemma. For decades, conservationists have worked tirelessly, building sanctuaries, providing endless food, protecting their habitats. But no matter how safe, how comfortable, or how well-fed these pandas are, they simply refuse to reproduce. A painful realization dawned. If the pandas won't save themselves, how can we save them? Number 3. Operation Peeping Tom. To solve this mystery, scientists launched an extraordinary mission. The Chinese Academy of Sciences teamed up with the San Diego Zoological Society in the U.S., creating a project with a fitting name, Peeping Tom. Costing $660,000 and spanning 3 years, its purpose was bold and daring. use GPS collars, high-tech trackers, and surveillance equipment to spy on their private lives, deep in their natural habitat. The chosen site, Phoping Nature Reserve, Shanxi Province, a dense, shadowy forest where sunlight barely pierces through bamboo. Here the pandas live, and here, perhaps, their secrets could be unveiled. Number 4. Elusive shadows. But pandas are solitary, secretive creatures. They vanish at the slightest hint of human presence. Wei Fuan, a leading researcher, admitted, only with advanced technology can we hope to glimpse their true behavior. Without it, the mysteries of their biology will remain hidden forever. The mission was clear. Observe their mating rituals, if they had any at all, and uncover the secret to saving their species. Number 5. Desperate experiments. Over the years, scientists tried almost everything to spark romance among pandas. Animal Viagra failed. Panda pornography, hours of videos showing others mating, but most pandas just stared blankly. Even in the wild, under the perfect moonlight, in the quiet forest, pandas often seemed utterly indifferent to mating. A haunting question emerged. Why would a species blessed with life refuse to create more of it? Number 6. The cold numbers. By late 2004, the statistics were grim. Only 163 pandas survived in captivity. Around 1,600 remained in the wild, scattered across the mountains of Sichuan, Shanxi, and Gansu. These numbers weren't just data. They were a countdown. Without change, without answers, the giant panda could slip quietly into extinction. Number 7. Between life and extinction. And so the mission continues. Hidden cameras, GPS signals, faint sounds in the night. Every detail is being recorded. Perhaps in those shadows, the answers lie waiting. But until then, one question remains. Can the panda rediscover its instinct to survive? Or will it become a tragic reminder that sometimes extinction doesn't come from bullets or chainsaws, but from nature itself? The story is still unfolding under the whispering bamboo forests of China.
Welcome to Sophia Science, the YouTube channel that answers all your questions about the world of science, including science mysteries, aliens.